What will the media do without Donald Trump? I don't know. Probably collapse into itself. Tons of layoffs, desperate sell-offs, and no one's going to want to buy it. Maybe you guys heard the story from a little while ago. CNN, apparently, I believe AT&T owns it now. I don't know who owns it. No, who cares? Because it's worthless now that everyone is predicting Trump is going to be leaving office. I would say if there's one thing the people of CNN and MSNBC should be doing right now, it's praying that somehow, despite all of their efforts, Trump still wins, because they're about to lose their job. And I'll tell you what was really surprising is that there's a story that came out from the New York Times saying that, you know, CNN and MSNBC are really worried about what's going to happen. And in it, they mentioned the president of CNN, Jeff Zucker, is weighing his options and may actually leave. Now, they say it's because he's fighting with his boss, but let's be real. AT&T wants to sell CNN. They're in massive debt. The network is nothing but anti-Trump garbage. And if Trump ends up leaving on January 20th, that's it. They're all done. Even the Wall Street Journal wrote about this, saying, what do we do once Trump is gone? And they're not talking about themselves, because the Wall Street Journal is fairly conservative. No, they're talking about, I guess, all of this resistance media. The venture capital funded news outlets are going to turn out to be a washout for all these companies that dumped hundreds of millions of dollars into them. And it's going to be kind of funny. So we're going to talk about that. We got this big old hack affecting the U.S. You know, Trump apparently, there's been some invocation of some executive authority, creating this like joint intelligence effort. And you know what? You can't see anything with these hacks, so we don't even know what's really going on other than they're telling us Russia is breaking into our systems and essentially it's an act of war. And I'm like, oh, yeah, here we go. Joe Biden gets in office and then we're back to the track we were on with Hillary Clinton of going to war with Russia because they want to get that natural gas back up into Europe. So we'll talk about this. We also got some crazy culture stories. We'll talk about some huge influencer died. It's really sad over I'm not trying to look, I'm just telling you the story with no disrespect. She was trying to get a butt lift. And she had like 12 million followers. So we're going to talk about a bunch of this stuff. Hanging out today is, of course, Luke Rudkowski. He lives in the parking lot.
Yep. Tim, thank you so much for having me on. Before we start, I would like to start off on a serious note. And this is not easy, but I would like to publicly apologize to the viewing audience. It seems that I've misled you and I was wrong. And I hope you guys don't judge me for it. I hope that you will acknowledge that at least I'm striving to be as honest and as open-minded as I am. But I had a couple medical professionals contact me, and they shared some data, some charts, and some factoids. And I have to say here, and I have to correct my previous stance, and I have to say that the coronavirus vaccine is, in fact, good. It is safe, and it will be ending the lockdowns. I know my previous comments were skeptical, but after having these medical professionals come to me, I have no doubt at all. And I would like to announce on this show that I will be joining our President-elect Joe Biden next week, right in my left arm. I will be taking the coronavirus vaccine with him because Bill Gates can't lie. And Bill, you want to come down here, jab me personally? One-on-one, mano-y-mano.
You realize there's a lot of
here for you and I volunteer for your scientific.
You realize there's people listening who have no idea that you're joking.
Well, they missed out.
And they're like, oh wow, that's really interesting that Luke said that.
You were joking?
Tim,
Luke right now, for those that are listening and can't see what he's doing, because Luke doesn't realize it's a podcast, he's holding up tiny plastic hands that you clearly can't give him a vaccine through. Ha 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 ha.
I'm surprised people aren't selling these now with everything that's happening. Tim, do you forgive me for my indiscretion?
Transgressions.
Do you forgive me?
What did you really even say though? People should do their research and decide for themselves.
Yeah,
that's not.
But that's wrong. That's bad. That's wrong think. That's wrong think right now. Don't. I mean,
I'll tell you.
Twitter will ban you if you say the vaccines are bad. So we have to change our stances.
There's a video of a guy getting a vaccine, but the syringe is empty, and it's going viral. And I tweeted, "WTF is this?" And some Democrat guy was like, "You're so anti-vax." I'm like, "There's literally no vaccine. What are you talking about?"
In there.
I'm complaining they didn't give him the vaccine. Why are you yelling at me?
And the hospital released the statement saying that they're giving him another vaccine again because there was clearly some kind of mistake there. And again, a lot of people are bringing up conspiracy theories, but I think this might highlight some incompetency. And I think the nurse might have brought in the same one that was just used on someone else and injected him.
It's the same guy. Someone would come in, sit down, and get a shot.
Yeah.
Someone would come in. I think he accidentally took the used syringe.
Yes, I think that's
jabbed the guy with the same
Yes.
one. Oh, dude, could you imagine
Worst
being the
case
guy?
scenario.
Needle stick.
yes,
Oh,
just
man.
getting injected
You know what
with
I think is
random
funny?
needles.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people were like, it was a PR stunt, and they thought there was some kind of conspiracy or plan. I'm like, dude, the nurse just reused the same needle.
Yep.
Like, he gave him the shot. He probably put the cap back on, put it down. This guy walks in. He didn't realize he grabbed the same one, and it wasn't
He had
until
nerves.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, on
nervous.
camera.
Yeah.
And this is not the first time this happened. There was an Australian politician that showed how she's taking the flu jab, and again, it was the same thing,
No,
orchestrated,
that's
no
different.
blue gloves.
No. That's different.
Did you see the video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, this guy, this nurse.
Oh yeah, it was totally different. But we're showing
Because he was
how-
giving multiple people
Exactly,
vaccines.
exactly,
Could you imagine,
yes.
like, finding out later when people on the internet were watching the video that you'd probably be thinking, like, wait a minute, he gave me that shot, but it wasn't anything in it? Where did that come from? And then the dude who did it's like, oh, man, I used a dirty needle
Somebody's
on
in
this guy.
trouble.
Absolutely, absolutely crazy and insane. Tim, I have to say, I have to give you a hand. Here you go.
You're struggling. Yeah, okay, thanks.
There you go.
You should see the rest of the
Tim
body.
has received- Oh my gosh.
Hold on. I'm gonna. We need
It's
to.
horrifying.
We need to pull this back into the armory that we have.
Oh, the armory.
Yeah.
Oh, let's give Tim a
Good
hand.
idea.
So this guy
The
Luke,
armory.
this guy Luke is all like, Tim, you got to get this scope for your M1. It's going to be great. And then he doesn't even know how to put it on.
Well, it's complicated, and I don't want to ruin the gun. If I don't know anything, you don't want me messing with the trigger.
It's true.
You have to take apart.
So you're
the
saying
whole,
is your advice
You
for
have to
getting
take down
the
the whole
scope
trigger.
was bad.
No,
And
we
you
went
have no idea
we
what
went
you're
to a
doing.
professional and we both got this advice. You, for some reason, decided to get an M1A rifle for I don't know, maybe some
Home
historical
defense.
purposes. No, that is not a that is not a that is
Yes,
not a
it
home
is.
defense. That is not a home defense rifle.
it is.
Okay,
Hit people with it.
that's a broomstick.
That's
first
what
of
it's
all,
for.
especially with modern rifles that are out there that actually do
You wanna
work
know- you
well
wanna know
with
the truth?
scopes.
You wanna
And
know
if
the
you have a
truth? You wanna
long
know
range
the truth?
rifle,
You want to know the truth?
What?
It's all they had.
oh,
They were
in
sold out of-
Jersey,
They were
Okay.
sold out of everything.
What are you doing in Jersey?
Moved.
I told you. I
moved.
told you. Go to Pennsylvania. You went to Jersey. I don't
No,
wanna-
no. That was years ago.
Yes. Yes. Years ago.
Did you?
No, years ago you didn't say go to Pennsylvania.
Yes, I
years
did.
ago you were like, why are you leaving New York? New York's the best.
I
You
wasn't
lived
even
in New York
York
forever.
I did, but I was traveling a lot and leaving that hellhole as much as I could. But there was something to this city that was pretty amazing, especially as you're younger and you get to meet a lot of people.
You were late to the party, bro. I got out a long time ago. Look,
Yes.
see, if you bought a house in the middle of nowhere, I'd be in your parking lot.
Yeah.
But see, I got the house, and you were like, "Yo, I got to get out of New York." I was like, "Bro, I got a parking lot."
I know you've been telling me to come down for a long time. I've been in New Hampshire. I was supposed to be in Florida 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, but I'm somehow stuck here. We still don't have anything official.
Well, the blizzard happened.
That wasn't nice. Yeah, Tim
was
came
nice.
out and he was like, "I'm going to skateboard the blizzard." I'm like, I just started cursing at him because I'm on top of my RV,
There's
literally
video of
shoveling
it
snow.
on my
Talking about
Instagram.
margaritas.
and,
Yeah.
and
We got snowboards.
Lids won't give me a broom
It's
because
true,
she
I
thinks I'm
wouldn't-
going to break it.
Yeah, he
And I'm
broke
like,
the other one.
It broke my own
Yeah, you
broom.
broke
We have
that
a,
one.
I would buy you another broom.
We have one of those big squeegees for shuffling the snow.
Yes, it's
didn't
not
want
fun.
that.
If you wanna
I
see
was supposed
Luke
to be in Florida,
Yeah.
on
shoveling
the
that
beach.
snow, it's on my Instagram page.
Okay,
I
yeah,
got
yeah.
about
Is it?
7 seconds of video. Yeah, it's hot.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Hey, did you tell Adam to install the scope?
Adam said he's too busy, doesn't want to do it.
I want to build up his gunsmithing skill.
Yes.
Gunsmithing.
Yeah.
I mean, I could do it. It's just going to take a long time, and it's
Luke lacks the
difficult to
skills to
take
pay the
out
bills.
the whole. It's difficult to take out the whole trigger sequence inside and then put
Oh,
it
the
back
whole
together.
mechanism.
Trigger
That's-
mechanism.
Yeah, that's not easy to do, and if you mess up,
You bit off more than you could chew.
yes, a
Your
little
eyes,
bit.
Your eyes were bigger than the
Your
ball.
stomach.
A little bit.
Keep your eyes on the
but
eyes on the
now you
prize.
have a pretty cool scope that you could put on an actual working
It's a
good
camera.
rifle.
It's a camera.
Well,
So the
it's a
M1
combination.
it's basically a camera.
ca-
The M1's just like a hunting rifle.
It's like historical.
It's like
World
a
War,
World
was it
War
World
II.
Yeah.
That's the M1 Garand.
Well, it's M1A,
Oh.
but it was all
M1A,
they
yeah.
had.
Still has
I'm
dust
not
on
gonna.
it.
I'm not gonna. Name every single gun that I got, but that was one of them.
Yes.
Then what
There's
There's
a
much
lot
more
to say about
practical
this.
ones.
I don't know. I disagree. we have our point of views, but
I just said there's much more practical ones. You disagree with me? That you just told me I shouldn't have
more
got it.
than the M1, yes. But,
I know, I'm
But as
saying
far
there's
as
much
the
more
decision
practical
making
guns than
here,
M1A.
there needs
What
to
do you
be
mean?
more consideration. But again, we are very
I
limited.
walked into a store
Yes.
and they had squirt guns in the display
Yeah.
Squirt
That's
guns?
crazy
because they
white.
were sold out.
Yes. Yes, it's crazy what's going out there, especially with so many new gun owners this year in the United States. We're talking about tens of millions of people finally, for the first time in their life, picking up and buying a rifle. And that's a testament of the time, but also shows you how it's hard to get to.
You got to think about the tactics of the left and the right. And I keep seeing the left scream that healthcare is a human right. And I'm like, bro, that's someone's labor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I come up with a solution. It's not even my solution. Other people have said it. How about we get universal health care? We all agree to it. And then we also get universal gun ownership.
Yes.
Meaning you can walk in, the government, like you get one government gun and the government gives you a gun. I'm not serious.
You just call it the gun.
Yeah.
I'm not being
Do
serious,
you
obviously.
have the gun?
No,
should.
what do you mean the gun?
You got to get the gun when you turn 18.
You go to the Department of Gun
It's just
Services.
a gun. I think we
The
should be
DGS.
3D printing our guns.
There you go.
And then you go in and you're like, yeah, I'm 18, it's my birthday. And they're like, well, you have to get a gun. It's a human right.
What if you had to get an airsoft
But think
rifle?
about it. No, this is a really good argument. And it is. Hear me out. When they say healthcare is a human right, what they're implying is that access to good, affordable healthcare is the right. That if it exists, you should be able to have access to it. And I'm like, okay, well, self-defense is also a human right. The right to defend yourself from harm. So if you're saying we need universal healthcare to provide a labor and technology to individuals so they can have access to that, then basically what you're saying is this. If the healthcare exists, it should be their right. Okay, fine. That means if the technology exists to help save your life, people should not be barred from getting it.
Then
Okay?
maybe-
So that means if self-defense is a human right, which it is, we actually have like exemptions for killing other people if it's in self-defense, then you should be granted universal access to the best tools for your self-defense.
You should get
Exactly.
a voucher because not everyone
One
needs
gun,
the gun.
free, paid for by the government.
Or like the value of one gun if you spend it on a gun or something like that.
the value, or
A
you-
lot of people
or-
are going to be like, why do you need a firearm?
Yeah.
And to those people, I'm like, why do you need a fire extinguisher? If you don't believe in having preventative tools, why would you want to have a fire extinguisher in your house? So that to me is another argument. that I
Ask
think is
someone
pretty
where their
interesting.
fire extinguisher is. Most people are gonna be like,
We've got like
"Oh,
17 of
is it?"
them in
Yeah,
this
we have,
house.
like, a
We have a
Yeah.
ton.
Yeah.
But if you ask a regular person, they might be like,
There's one right there.
it's I think it's under the stairs. Where's your first aid kit? I think it's in the bathroom. Did you
Yep.
check?
Lots of people, especially in the city, are wildly unprepared. And
geez.
I could only imagine. I mean, right now we're still in a time and period where everything is readily available. But after traveling the world and being in some conflict countries, you learn that a lot of the things that are around us right now, we're taking advantage of. And a lot of people aren't as lucky as we are, especially in the world. And when we look at the United States, we are a first world country that is extremely spoiled.
We got it. Well, let's get into the first segment because we got a good segue for this. Don't forget, Ian's chilling. He's also here. We didn't do the.
Did you get
we got it.
paintball, airsoft paintball pellets?
No.
Oh, they're not paintball. They're just biodegradable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get paintball pellets.
That'd be fun.
That's
So don't
what-
forget to smash that like
and
button,
hi, I'm Ian, by the
comment,
way.
Yeah,
subscribe. We're live at 8 p.m. live, and Lydia's producing.
I'm over here in the corner. Yeah.
But let's talk about this first story because I think this there's a lot to talk about with the media and the chaos and all that stuff. So we had this story come out. I covered this earlier on my main channel, youtube.com/Timcast. CNN and MSNBC fret over post-Trump future. But I think one of the most significant portions of this article is where they say that CNN's president, Jeffrey A. Zucker, is weighing whether to exit the network amid some tension with his new boss, Jason Killer. Killer?
Is that really it?
How's it
Well, it's
spelled?
like Kylar, but it says
Let's just go with
K-I-L-A-R. Killer. Jason
yeah.
Kira, the Warner
There's no
Media
way.
chief executive whose background is in tech, not journalism. Mr. Zucker is mulling his options over the holidays. No, hold on. You can't criticize that guy because his background's in tech when Jeff Zucker is running a news organization. I'm sorry, I'll do air quotes. News organization. When his background is in reality TV. Spare me
Yeah.
your BS.
What was his reality show background?
The Apprentice.
Oh, wow.
That's right. He worked with Trump.
Oh, it's
Forgot.
personal.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
What
No.
if this is all just like one big hoax?
Truman
Like,
Show.
like
One big
people think
reality show.
people think there's a conspiracy. Like the government, the Illuminati. What if the real conspiracy is that it's just like
It's all scripted.
Like
Zucker and
everything,
Trump,
everything.
We're like,
Yeah.
I'm going to make
Trump's
you look
in on it
bad,
and-
and you go crazy when I do it. It's going to be
so
awesome.
Jeff Zucker and Trump are sitting in a room, and it's like for the next show, it's going to be Trump as president.
Yeah.
We're going to make so much money. And Trump's like, it's a brilliant idea. You're the best, Jeff. I love you. And he shakes his hand.
Well, if you remember, before Donald Trump, the mainstream media was on its way out. A lot of people weren't taking them seriously. Their viewership was going down. And then out comes this orange, glorious man that gave him all the attention, that gave him the drama, that gave him the WWE kind of wrestling entertainment that
saved him.
people were striving for. And there is an argument to make here that Donald Trump did save the mainstream media because...
Oh, that's a fact. I'm not even kidding. That is a hard fact. All of these companies were collapsing. There were layoffs every other day.
Like between 2012 and 2016, were they just collapsing?
like 2014 to 2016.
What were they doing from 2011 to 14?
There was a mix of riding off of the Occupy and Ron Paul movements. And then they started to realize that intersectionality and social justice was making people really angry. And angry people share more. So they started going nuts, ramping up videos of cops beating people, writing songs about it. And there was one website, Mike.com, started as libertarian. Ron Paul, pro-Ron, like...
That was a big influence on minds at the time.
But then what they started doing, they started, putting up police brutality videos and finding that it mixed with social justice narratives better. And then the website just became a social justice media company. Then we started seeing there was something called like ad rights traffic distribution or whatever, where these companies would be like, we get 1 million views, we'll sell the rights to those views to you to run ads on our content. And then companies like Vice would claim they were getting, 100 million views because they were actually buying the rights to other content. Oh. So it was this big kind of, I wouldn't call it fraud or a scam or anything like that, but like when you go to someone and claim
like scam-ish,
Imagine if I claimed my YouTube channel, so you go to Social Blade, you can see how many views my channels get. It's like, I think right now I've reduced the amount of content I've been producing a little bit. So it's like 60, 70 million or whatever, or maybe a little bit. I think it's around there.
Per month.
I think it's like 75 million. Mm-hmm. It was at 100 a few months ago, way bigger with the election, but I've pulled some of the I've done a little bit less content. Imagine if I like went to 1,000 channels that made videos of people drinking bottled water and nothing else. And I said, sign the rights to your viewership to me. And then I found another 25 million views that were worthless, that make no money. And then I started telling everybody, I get 100 million views.
My network has...
Exactly. That's what they were doing. So at some point before Trump, everything started falling apart. They started laying people off. Shane Smith, the CEO of Vice, was like, there's going to be a bloodbath in digital media. And we saw valuations tanking. Then along comes Trump. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, these media outlets realized, if we say the orange man is bad, people click that button.
Wow.
Yeah, and you brought up a very important point, because there was even psychological studies that pointed about how if you make someone emotional, if you make someone angry, if you make them feel a very strong negative emotion, that leads to more sharing of articles, sharing of
anger.
links, sharing of news stories. And I remember watching a documentary about this new kind of online internet news business and seeing people in the newsroom with just graphics about how many shares their articles get, and it would be out of the 10 most shared articles per day. Yeah, and it was right in front of everyone, and they were always trying to beat each other. Who would get the most clicks? Who would have the most outrageous headlines? Who would get the most attention?
All it ever was.
And when you have a system like that, we have to understand that's going to have some significant consequences for the general public.
Let me tell you guys a story. When I was down in Ferguson, when the riots were breaking out, and there's cops, lobbing,
I was there.
Gas and everything. I did one of the biggest streams ever. This is really funny to think about, because we get more viewers on this show now than I would get like mobile streaming on the street.
But so when I was more likes on this show in one night than I get on my entire YouTube channel in a year.
When I was streaming,
lifetime in 10 years.
When I was streaming in Ferguson, and so my live stream had it was being displayed in 3 different pages for a total of like 70,000 concurrent viewers at the height of these riots. When all was said and done, and the riots lit up, and the buildings were like a whole city block, West Florissant was engulfed in flames. You drive down the street, you could feel the heat in your car from how big the flames were. Viewership was insane. It was massive. There were bullets flying. I'm hitting the ground. The cops are like, run, run, run. There's tear gas everywhere. And you know what? When everything wrapped up, and I got on the phone with the people back in the Vice newsroom, I would say the first thing they told me was, "Bro, you just broke the record for concurrence. The first time a sub channel surpassed the parent channel, bro." And I'm like, yes. That was it. They were like, "We can't believe it." because Vice News was not Vice. It was just like a sub category. But
Yeah.
we got more concurrence, dude. Yeah. They weren't like, it's a sad day, man. I can't believe it. These buildings. Are you all right?
Or, yeah,
okay?
yeah. Or I was gonna say, are you okay? Did you get shot?
No, but listen.
We need
we're all
journalists.
we're all vultures.
Yeah.
Night
We're all
crawlers.
vultures. So was I gonna be like, how dare you say that to me? You should be asking me if I'm. No, I was like, wow, awesome. I
Yeah.
can't believe how
Yeah.
well we did.
Yeah, and that is kind of a sociopathic mentality, especially with everything that was happening in Ferguson. And there used to be this kind of slogan in news: "If it bleeds, it leads."
Used to be a slogan.
Now, I think the slogan is "Let's butcher saw style, cut everyone open like, in the nastiest,
It
the
used
most
to be-
disgusting way," and then we have ourselves a title.
It used to be if it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah.
Now it's if it bleeds orange, it leads. Orange man
For
narrative.
now, but that orange sweet elixir is coming to an end, and when it comes to an end, there's going to be a big reckoning, and we're
I
going to
don't
see a
wanna-
lot of these media companies eat
delicious
each other up.
orange
It's going to be
skin tan.
disgusting. There's going to be a lot of fired Starbucks drinking, flip-flop wearing yuppies
Well, check
in the
this out.
city that won't have a job anymore, and there's going to be a huge economic reckoning, especially with, I think, a digital marketing media collapse, which how can you say is not coming when their evil villain is leaving and they won't have anyone else to fight?
Let's talk about the serious ramifications of what the media has become. I'll put it this way. I'd like you to imagine Donald Trump walking down the street with a smile on his face, waving to people, and there's a bunch of rats chasing him, nibbling at his coattails and his shoes, and he's constantly like kicking them away. That's what the media has become. The Wall Street Journal writes, for an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal says, "What will we do without Trump? A reckoning for resistance media." But they make a very, very important point. They're not just saying, oh no, without Trump, what do we write about? They're pointing out that Eric Swalwell was caught banging a Chinese spy and the New York Times has not covered it.
Good point.
You'd think someone who sits on the Intelligence Oversight Committee in Congress who was sleeping with a Chinese spy would be front page news, but it's not. You know why? Because passively in a meeting, one source says, Donald Trump entertained the idea of not leaving the White House, though the idea was quickly shot down and Trump agreed it was a bad idea. Boom, headline.
Yep.
Nothing. So today I'm reading the news and it's like, Trump refuses to leave the White House. Ugh. And I'm like, wow, I wonder what the source is for this. And it was a passive little sentence in the bottom of a CNN article, but someone saw it. And they were like, Trump even suggested asked his aides, what if he didn't leave the White House? And the idea was quickly shot down and Trump agreed. But someone sees that. They blow it up into this big headline, Trump refusing to leave the White House. And I'm like,
I saw the headline and I didn't even want to read the article because I'm like, oh, it has Trump in it. That means there's most likely some disinformation or bullcrap on it with someone just making something up just to get their headlines, just to get their clicks. And it's so disingenuous, but it also is so hurtful for the political discourse that is happening in this country that has been bastardized, that has been destroyed, that has been savaged by these brutes who only want clicks, fame, attention, and ad revenue, that has essentially destroyed any kind of understanding of media. And we're living in this bizarre world where there's going to be finally a correction, and they're going to realize, holy cow, they're in utter trouble. Look at the article that the Washington Post ran with today. Let me read you the headline from the Washington Post. Pete Buttigieg is right. Airports are romantic. That's it.
Yeah.
That's their headline. Who's going to read that?
That's
right?
not news.
Who's going to want to read that? Also, it's important
like the
to note
Christmas
that the
thing.
Washington Post is known as the kind of CIA deep state newspaper. And of course, Buttigieg does have ties to intelligence agencies as well. So obviously
I was once
they're
at an
propping him
airport
up. Yep.
and I saw an old guy sneeze into his hand, then look around and then wipe his hand on the seat.
Romantic.
Romantic.
Oh my gosh.
Nothing screams romance like
Airport
Like-
security,
like-
yeah.
airport security, and blue rubber gloves. You know, you know what I'm talking about there.
Get felt up, yeah.
Nothing. That's romance. You know what? We should do a short, a short film about the love story of a TSA agent who has to, get a good feel on somebody, and then
they fall in love.
and he looks up and looks the guy in the eyes, and it's romance. Just boom, like that.
As he's patting him right in
Yeah.
there, right
Yep,
into
yep.
the little. I can see that happening.
Romance in an airport.
and then he gets to
I'm
he sits
now,
on his plane.
more importantly, that headline, Pete Buttigieg is right. Airports are romantic.
Yeah.
What's an
What?
opi-
Yes.
It's an
What
opinion,
does that have
right?
to do? No, I don't care if it's an opinion. What?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who
But
cares?
what's the news?
Yes, thank you.
Did-
They
did-
want
did-
people to
no,
fly.
hold
They're
on.
trying to sell
Did
tickets
Pete,
for
did Pete
Christmas.
Buttigieg write a book about romantic airports or something?
Well,
He
That's-
was.
you gotta
he
click
was
to find
made
out.
the what was it?
transport-
the transport
But he has
secretary,
no
Secretary,
experience.
transportation secretary. Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Oh, for
it doesn't
Biden?
matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Yeah, he was like, and I love the NPR wrote an article, and it was like, he loves trains. He's riding the Amtrak. You know, they decided to make him the transport. Are you kidding me, dude?
yeah.
You
What
know,
are they
look,
going to do now?
I look about Pete Buttigieg being the transportation secretary or whatever. I don't care. What's he's going to read some books. He's going to say sure, fine, whatever. I don't care about that. You know, Ben Carson was made the head of urban housing and
Yeah,
development
that
or
didn't
whatever.
make sense.
I don't care.
You know what I do care about
It's
though?
appointments.
Buttigieg saying he was the first gay guy to something
He didn't say
something.
that.
Didn't
It
he?
was-
Everyone else is saying it about
Yeah.
him.
But
I thought okay.
another
sorry
thing
about
to really
that.
consider here, as the mainstream media numbers are going to go down, which they are, of course, going to go down, we're going to see another concerted effort to destroy people who take away views from them. And who's that? Independent content creators who are not a part of the establishment.
Don't worry. Donald Trump is doing everything in his power to help them
What? Huh?
by calling for the repealing of Section 230,
Which,
Right, 'cause-
again,
which would destroy independent media.
And Google, like it could tear Google down,
No,
Really?
Google will be fine.
or it could run them out of money. at
If
least.
I'll tell you what happens,
My phone.
I wouldn't
said
be
the
surprised.
word and my phone lit up.
I wouldn't be surprised
Creepy.
if Donald Trump gets what he wants with repealing Section 230, and then all of a sudden YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook go, due to the repealing of this law, only verified users will be allowed to post. Period.
Yep.
And that's it. Internet becomes cable TV.
I mean, already, if you are a verified user, your post goes in the algorithm and is promoted. If you're not verified, it's not promoted, and very few people will see that. So again, they're creating this kind of inner circle of this speech is okay, this speech is not. So I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be
And Trump's gonna give
surprised
them what they want.
if it happens like you're saying it will happen, where only in the future you could only have a voice if you're part of the inner blue check verified circle, which I think is happening. I think it already
Definitely.
is happening, and I think it's going to happen on a bigger level.
They just got to go about it slowly. If they do it all overnight, it'll create it'll create uproar and outrage.
Yeah.
And
What?
it won't. If they ban so Pornhub deleted 80% of their content.
Jeez.
Only verified accounts are now allowed to post.
Mm-hmm.
If YouTube did that right now, there would be a massive revolt. It would destabilize a lot of the website, and users would flee to competitors.
And it would make news too. It'd be
And they're
headlines.
accepting cryptocurrencies, which could
Wait,
be
YouTube is?
why Pornhub is
Oh,
accepting
yeah, yeah.
cryptocurrencies as payments, which is probably why crypto is doing so well right now. Because
Oh.
everyone
Makes
just
sense, yeah.
But, I mean, but there's also legislation being proposed right now that would limit people's sovereignty and freedom to be their own bank account, as Barack Obama classified Bitcoin. But most importantly, we have to understand this crackdown on independent speech. It's just as much as it is about, quote, fact checking as it is about destroying people's competition. So independent creators have shown to be a viable threat against the mainstream media. They have shown to outbeat them when it comes to fact checking, when it comes to telling stories accurately and telling stories from a more honest, legitimate place. And because of that, there has been this entire agenda to squash their voices, squash the people who follow them. And it already affected me even today, as I was fact checked officially by USA Today that said that my fake picture of President Xi and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as Time Person of the Year was, quote, incorrect.
Yeah, your meme.
Yes,
Yeah,
my meme.
they
They're
fact-checked your
fact-checking memes, which were
They've
clearly
been
satirical.
Bro, they fact checked the
Clearly.
Babylon Bee.
Yeah,
Yes.
they do.
But
Let me tell you what's happening. Let me tell you a story. I did a video segment about the GOP electoral candidates. Okay, I'm getting it right this time. So what happened was all these tweets emerged saying Republican electors have cast their votes for Donald Trump. Colloquially, semantically, it's a fine thing to say. Okay, so I made a video. I said GOP electors cast dueling, votes for Trump. I get flagged on Facebook. It says false information, and then it links to an article that doesn't actually in any way refute anything I said. So I was confused. Why was it that there was an article? What it really said was the Republican electors are unofficial and they weren't chosen to go to the electoral college. Therefore, these votes don't matter. And I was like, that's exactly what I said in my video. I went into depth about, human beings' confidence. Perhaps, like 1960 in Hawaii, we might see something changed. So why did I get a false rating? Turns out I emailed the dude and I emailed the company that gave me the rating, and I laid out exactly what I said. I said, first of all, the first thing when you click the video, it says the contested states have voted for Joe Biden. And I'm like, so why are you giving me a bad rating? And then I said in the video, I said, these are non-official, they're unofficial procedural votes for this reason, which is exactly 100% correct. And the guy was like, yeah, upon viewing the video and seeing the context, I agree, you're right. And I'll be removing this flag. So there's two things here. For one, the person who flagged it, whatever at this company, didn't even watch the video, just saw it and went fake news with knowing nothing about it. When in fact, everything in my video was correct and they even agreed. So why do I have to email some small garbage company who it's some random guy who doesn't know what he's talking about, who has written this organization? I'm not gonna, drag them right now. We'll see how things play out. But they've written fake news before. Yep. They've written overt fake news, but Facebook has given them the ability to smear and defame individuals with libelous information.
We rely on
USA Today
companies.
fact-checking me today about an altered image on my Instagram. I mean, come on. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's crazy. They don't have the best record themselves. But most importantly, what you just said also kind of happened to me in a very similar way right after the election of U.S. President Donald Trump, when there was these rumors of Russian collusion. There was allegedly all these intelligence agencies that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians. I, of course, was asking for the evidence and was calling it out. And I said, there's no evidence showing Russian collusion. Wikipedia literally said that I was fake news, never to mention me on their website again. And if even, they had an editorial note in Wikipedia saying, even if he does commit a news story that is something that we need to reference or talk about, like Epstein Island, never mention him, mention another news organization that talks about him. And literally, the Washington Post put me in a database saying that We Are Change was a, quote, Russian asset organization that was literally working for the Kremlin, pushing out disinformation because I didn't believe the Russian collusion line right after Donald Trump was elected.
They went after you because of your Polish heritage?
I don't think my Polish heritage had anything to do with it. It had to do with me asking legitimate questions, asking for the data and the evidence of this Russian collusion, which I said was not there, that I haven't seen any direct influence, that I haven't seen any direct evidence, and I made those observations public in my videos. They responded with, you're a Russian asset, here you are on this big database promoted by the Washington Post. Wikipedia says you're fake news. No one will ever mention you on Wikipedia. And this is one of the reasons why I still don't have a Wikipedia, and there's no Wikipedia entries for me because it's totally banned from even being discussed. So I've been totally just, what is it called? Disappeared, unpersoned on Wikipedia because I didn't believe Russian collusion, which came out to be absolutely true.
Listen.
Yeah,
when I see these stories about establishment policies and Joe Biden, the Electoral College, and they try to assert that these things are legitimate and official, I don't see it anymore. I really don't. Because when I look at what's going on with these policies and when I look at what's going on with the lockdowns, all it's doing is destroying everything. It's not creating, it's not protecting, it's not ensuring the rights of citizens. It's just destroying everything. So I see this Electoral College vote. And what do they do in Michigan? They did the what did they do? They shut the Capitol building down. They wouldn't let the Republicans in, and they were singing the Black National Anthem. All right, fine. If Michigan wants to do whatever they want to do, but I just find it really interesting that we're seeing dramatic, like the cultural differences between where we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago it's night and day in different parts of this country. Everything's different. It's like there's no cohesive culture anymore. I look at what Joe Biden has done, what he likely will start doing now. I look at the mainstream media and the insane stories they write, like 80% of people believe Joe Biden is the president. It's like, what is this poll? Now they're doing 60% of people approve of Joe Biden's job as the president-elect. What job?
Is that a
What
job?
did he
That's
do?
a real
Yes.
article. That was a real poll they put out. And now I see this. Check this out. Because we're talking about crypto and all that stuff. You know that 35% of all U.S. dollars that have ever been printed were printed in the last 10 months.
Yep, I shared that when
Check it out.
it first
We got-
came
we got-
on
we
the
got-
show.
we got
You
this.
got to show the graphic if you can
We
find
do
the graphic.
from the
Yeah,
St.
we have
from
it.
St.
Terrifying.
Louis Fed.org.
Oh, my God.
Yep.
Look at this. So I saw this post. some lefties were posting about it on Facebook. And they're showing this graph from it's Fred, and it's Economic Research, Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. And we can see 35% of all U.S. dollars.
Dude, this is a huge warning sign to diversify out of the U.S. dollar right now.
So here's what the lefties were talking about. Someone posted this on Facebook saying, y'all are talking about universal health care, this, that, and this. Here's what I'm worried about. And someone responded with, we can deficit spend forever. And why would you be worried about that? Because a lot of lefties, like I think AOC even mentioned this, will just deficit spend into massive debt forever. And then someone mentioned, the guy who posted it was like, I'm worried about Weimar Germany. And then linked to a photo of people shoveling German marks into a gutter. So I started reading about it. I don't think it's the exact same thing. But because there was a desperate need to pay back it was reparations from World War I, they just kept printing money to try and keep spending it and paying back, to keep the machine going, essentially. It's not identical. But right now, all this money is being printed because nothing's being produced. Now, that's a serious problem.
Yeah.
Nothing is being produced, so they give people money to buy what's remaining. That means the things... I remember earlier in the year when everyone's like, oh, man, what happens now with the lockdowns and everything? And what did I do? I went to the store every so often, and I bought a normal supply of groceries. We didn't go crazy. We didn't run to the store and buy like 10 shopping carts of beans. We did buy, like 20 cans of beans. And I was like, we'll get some beans. We'll put them in the pantry, right? And then I ordered these emergency food things. Why? The things you see on the shelf right now were made a while ago. And so when you start seeing no one working, when the restaurants are now shut down in New York, you know what that means? A lot of things are going to happen. For one, we're not insulated. We are to a certain degree on shows like this. People who make digital content are going to lose tons of money when they shut down indoor dining because small businesses and restaurants will stop spending money on ads to get customers. More importantly, when people aren't going to work, they aren't making things. So what's going to happen eventually is you're going to have a ridiculous amount of money from the US government being printed like crazy and nothing to buy with it. So what happens? You're going to have big old stacks of dollars and you're going to be like, I don't know, can't buy anything with it. What do I need it for?
And if you wait too long, the prices of stuff is going to skyrocket. It's
It already
up
is.
20%.
It already is. Check this
but
out.
I'm talking about
Hold on. Check this out.
skyrocket.
I put in my Amazon shopping cart a Galaxy tablet. I was like, I could use a tablet so around the house I could be looking at news and doing stuff. And then I forgot about it. I got an alert when I went to Amazon the other day, and it said price change from $500 to $650.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah, for
Monitors
the
are
same thing.
Most goods are going up dramatically.
That's modest.
Especially raw goods, especially things that are used to produce other goods. They're becoming very limited in supply. And it's absolutely terrifying the bigger economic ramifications that are coming our way, not only because of the lockdown, but because of the Federal Reserve. You said if they start printing money like crazy, they already are. Most of that money,
35%.
Yeah.
Think about how.
Yeah.
So
when I was on the show a couple weeks ago, the first time I told you, what was it, 25%? I forgot the exact number.
23.6.
Yeah, 23.6. That number has already risen. It's going to continue to rise. And most of that money is literally going towards companies like BlackRock, one of the biggest asset owning companies in the entire world that is literally in the Chinese stock market. So we are literally giving socialism to the super rich right now, and they're transferring that money to the Chinese stock market of all places.
Yes, take a look at this.
Yep.
From the street, and this is from October 15th, 23.6% of all U.S. dollars were created in the last year. In the last 23.6. Where are we at now? Well, according to a bunch of posts that are going around, I don't know if that's the exact correct number, but they say 35. Let's just assume that's correct. From October, 2 months later, we went from 23.6 to 35. 12 more points up. They are cranking out dollars. They're spinning that money machine like crazy. Now, some people have said that there's going to be rapid deflation because there's nothing to buy. So, but I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense.
Who said that?
There's just been posts on the internet saying, no, we're facing serious.
What's the logic?
I guess the logic is if there's nothing to use a dollar on and people aren't working, then they have very few dollars left. And they hold them very tightly because all the money's being transferred to the Amazons, that Walmart, the BlackRock, etc. Regular working class people don't have any money to spend, right? So that means when you say, I've got a gallon of water, would you like to buy it? They go, I only got $10. Sorry, I'm not spending it. I got to hold on to this. And then they go, okay, then how about for $5? No way, dude. Okay, fine, $2. Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
that's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's
People
not gonna
value
happen.
money over human life, unfortunately. That's the way business
The United
works.
States is indebted. We still don't have the official tallies from the Federal Reserve and their printing, but as of right now, $27.2 trillion. That's an insurmountable amount that can't be paid back no matter what you do. You could steal the wealth of all the billionaires, and it won't even come close to running the U.S. government for 1 year.
How much?
$27.4 trillion.
Oh, it was 27.2 yesterday.
How much of that is?
It was
is
27.2 yesterday, Tim.
Like, how much of that is compounded interest? Do you know?
Check this
Like
out.
what the
Check this
principal
out.
is and how much of it is interest?
Check this out. From usdebtclock.org,
Whoa, no.
they say the U.S. federal debt to GDP in 1980 was 34%. In 2000 was 55%, and now it's 128.6%.
All right, sounds like inflection has
Yeah.
been reached.
Yep.
We are producing more debt than goods. That's what I'm
Exactly.
saying. People aren't making things anymore, and they're cranking out money to pay off debts they can't pay off.
Yeah.
Weimar Germany, dude. And then all of a sudden, people don't realize this. It was in like the span of 1 year. The German mark went from like 20 marks to the dollar to like, what was it, like 200 billion or I think 200 billion marks to the dollar. It was just people shoveling money into dumpsters.
That's the way
I-
compound interest works. Is it
Yeah.
compounds on itself, and it's like a J curve, and then it just goes
Yeah.
straight up all of a sudden.
And these people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez don't have any basic understanding of any math or logic or any common sense, because if you look at her kind of larger plan of tax the billionaires, if you would right now confiscate all the wealth of all the billionaires in the United States, you would still not have enough money to run the U.S. government for 1 year. So people need to realize the amount of debt, the amount of money that this government is spending is absolutely insane. I remember going down to Venezuela. I remember going down to Zimbabwe. If you're lucky, you might be able to still find some of my reports. I remember also going to India when they had a currency reset and seeing the actual pain that the government caused people by, just manipulating the financial system. In India, they banned particular rupee notes that they just said didn't matter anymore. So I landed in India, and they literally the next day had a currency reset. The government announced if you have these very prominent bills, they don't matter anymore, and they did it because they wanted more people to pay taxes, because they knew a lot of people were keeping their money either in
Shoeboxes.
in shoeboxes underneath their bed.
Yeah.
So after getting rid of all of these bills, the Indian people literally just had a few days to turn in all of their money to the
banks.
government, to the banks, that of course would keep a record and tax them accordingly on it.
This is why
and then
they
those
love-
notes were became useless afterwards.
It's why they love Bitcoin.
I don't know if they love
They love
Bitcoin,
Bitcoin.
but the U.S. Treasury Department wants to restrict your access to Bitcoin and you being able to transact in a way that doesn't involve KYC, the big
Right.
banks, and the
They
U.S.
love
government.
it, but they want control of it. And they love it because it's the ledger is public and they can see everything you've bought transferred to every single person
Yes.
forever.
Well, you can't
delete it.
hyperinflate Bitcoin. That's the thing. There's a set amount.
That's true, yeah.
And you can't manipulate it. You can't print it out of thin air. And if you look at the dollar is as strong as it is mainly because of the U.S. military-industrial complex and its use of force all around the world to make sure that the world trades in the dollar. Now, when the dollar hyperinflates and when the dollar hits the fan, this is not only going to affect the United States, this is going to affect the entire world.
Yep.
And that's why I've been looking at countries like Chile, that their currency is not actually backed by the dollar. I've been looking at other kind of alternatives as well. But I think, we really need to start paying attention to the alternatives out there, because I'm telling you, I mean, it's insurmountable.
Bro,
So
I bought Bitcoin a month ago.
Smart
I've been periodically buying Bitcoin.
Yeah, me too.
Not like crazy or anything like that. It's up $23 something thousand, and I'm
23?
I'm talking to, like if you guys know Max Kaiser, he's the Orange Pill podcast.
He's the one that told me about Bitcoin when it was still, I think, $1 or a few cents, and I told him to bug off.
Dude's a prophet.
Because I had to fight the globalists at
Talk about the
Bilderberg
word
Group in
profit.
Isn't
Watford.
Max
in Watford.
super rich and successful off of like trading and stocks and stuff?
He's a financial market guy. He's a
And you
very
told him to screw
entertaining
off?
guy. Yeah.
No, when I was hanging out with Max
man.
and his buddy told me to buy Square stock, I did, and it skyrocketed
Yeah.
up to like 200,
Dude,
like 2,000%.
I own so much Bitcoin, and I'm still sad when I see that it's up 27% in the last week.
You know what's
Because
really funny?
It's a sign that the dollar's failing.
I sold 21 Bitcoin in like 2012, and I was excited.
Wow.
I was,
Wow.
I was
and I remember
like-
I was like, "What are you doing?" Not then, but another time.
no,
No,
no.
not that time. Another time you
No,
sold
that's
it
not
again.
true. That's not true. I
remember?
sold once, and I think I probably sold it to you.
Hell
Maybe.
yeah.
I think I sold
I
it
don't
to
know.
you.
Get rich.
Because
I
it
might or might not have some.
It skyrocketed up to $20, and it was this huge.
I think you did.
You
boom
can actually
spike.
donate
I think you
Bitcoin to
actually
Tim
did.
on
I think you actually
timcast.net.
did.
Yeah, I sold it to you.
Yeah.
I think I don't. I gotta.
It was a couple
remember.
$100. I was like, dude, like somebody just gave it to me. I don't care. It's $400, man. I can pay my rent. I was like, you want them? And you were like, okay. I'm like, here you go, buddy.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
now,
Numbers,
so you
yeah.
think they're going to do a reset, Luke? That they're going to be like
The reset
all
is already happening.
the
That's another thing people need to realize. The reset is now. It's happening now. John Kerry, who's a part of the Biden administration, said it's going to come faster than people realize, and it's definitely going to come under the Biden administration. And we have to remember what's happening right now with the destruction of small and independent businesses, with people being thrown into poverty. There's a new report that says that 8 million people have been thrown into poverty since June. The reset is here, it's happening, and it's the largest transfer of wealth in recorded human
So
history.
if it looks
the
like
rich
India-
have never been richer than they are right now, and they're only going to become more powerful
But listen,
than ever.
There's a threshold that I call it breaking the barrier. That you make a certain amount of money in your life, you will never be poor again. And so it's actually, when we're saying the rich people, I'm not talking about just Jeff Bezos, who's worth what, like 180 billion or whatever. I'm talking about people with a couple mil that right now, if you've got money to float on for the next couple of years, you're not going to be thrown into poverty and
unless you're
destitute.
sitting on pure cash with no assets, then I think you're in trouble. Because
I mean,
what they're going to
listen,
do is they're going to say
no,
U.S.
listen,
promissory
Tim's
notes.
making a good point here.
No, look, if you somehow
you're talking about
if-
assets, not money.
No, if you somehow came into a windfall of cash randomly, then sure, fine. But any regular person who's got a couple $1 million certainly has
You're
hard
talking
assets.
about assets, not
I'm
just
talking
not
about-
just dollars. It's different.
But-
Money is a vague
right.
term.
The reason that's kind of a moot point is someone didn't just wake up and have $2 million in cash. That doesn't happen.
Well, so a lot of people are storing cash right now. I think what's going to happen
No,
is
they're not.
the government's,
Regular,
the government's going to be like
regular
US
people's assets are tied up in their homes, as it's always been.
Well,
Their equities in their homes.
With the Great Depression, people that had buried cash in their backyard ended up being okay after the Depression because they were still had their cash. They couldn't get them out of the banks. But
So-
what's going to
so
happen
the
now
point I'm making,
is
listen.
the government is going to recall the Federal Reserve promissory notes, and they're going to start issuing new dollars from the banks,
that's-
and all the people are going to have to give their promissory notes back, and they'll have a certain amount of time to do it, and then they'll get taxed
well, that's
on
what he
it.
said happened
Yeah.
in which country?
So
What is the reference
India.
again? The currency reset.
Yeah,
where
the
they
currency
made
reset.
The point,
where they made notes illegal.
the point I was making is that there are people who are not that rich, but are rich, and they're sitting back right now with their feet up as everything burns down around them. Because what happens is they go to the restaurants and they say, you can't open your restaurant anymore. And they say, but dude, I've got like a 3-month buffer. Too bad 6 months goes by and now their business is gone. But you've got a ton of people who work for certain jobs that don't feel that. Either they're insulated, like it's a job that is essential and can never go away, maybe a supermarket or something, or it's a Walmart or something like that. And you have people who work certain jobs, day trading or some kind of financial service, and they can just sit back. And there are certainly people who, let's say they own a bunch of chain restaurants. Maybe there's a guy who owns, 50, Little Caesars or Wendy's. Well, all of his employees are out of work. All of his managers are out of work and they're all done. They can't pay their rent and they're starving. But this guy's got a net worth of like 7 million. So he sits back and says, we shut all the buildings down. We sold them off. I'm rich forever. I got nothing to worry about.
that's what the Native American chiefs did.
I mean, just
they got
look
bought
at,
off.
Look at Bill Gates. Bill Gates 10 years ago promised to donate all of his wealth to charity. He had $53 billion then. Today, after he said he was going to donate all of his money, he has $115 billion.
You know why he said that though? When did he say that?
2010.
2010.
Yep.
you had all these ultra rich people being like, we're gonna do the right thing and donate our money. Why? We just had a massive economic collapse and people were starting to yell rabble, rabble, rabble. And then he announces things like this. We saw
after the 2008 financial crisis,
when people were really mad and that sentiment was bubbling up, which ultimately became Occupy Wall Street. When people were like, the fat cats are super rich. And so what happens with Warren Buffett? Remember when Warren Buffett was like, we got to give our money away? It's not because they're like, I know deep down in my heart. It's because they're like, if it hits the fan, they're coming to my house with pitchforks. So I remember when Mark Zuckerberg announced he was giving his money away, and they reported like Mark Zuckerberg to donate all his money. He was giving it to an LLC to hold to bypass the death tax or the estate tax.
And many people don't realize most charities are utter scams, and they're a way for rich people just to launder their money. And that's exactly what happens in many instances. Not all of them, of course. There are some good, legitimate charities.
There's some good ones, like the one that the Bidens ran, where all 95% of the money went to salaries.
Or the Clinton Global Initiative. That was a great charity endeavor that Jeffrey Epstein even donated to a large sum of money.
Talking about benevolent.
Who would have thought? But also, the best investment, according to Bill Gates, the best investment, according to Bill Gates, is, of course, vaccines, which he says you get a 20-to-1 return on.
He's not wrong.
Bill Gates said that, yes.
Okay,
on
but
CNBC.
hold on.
He is a
I did watch
businessman.
this, and he didn't say the best investment is vaccines because of a 20-to-1. What he said was, the best investment has been in vaccine research because I've saved many lives. He then later said, I also got a 20-to-1 return on my investment.
Yes, that should be noteworthy. That should be questioned there. But I appreciate the full context because you need the full context.
Well,
I just shortened it.
The reason I tell that context is because the fact checks all say false.
Right.
And it's like false. Bill Gates did not say he
show
got
your work.
rich off vaccines.
It's like a mathematical proof. They give you an F if you don't show the entire proof.
When I pull up the actual fact checks, they're claiming what you said isn't true, using a false framing. So when you know what the actual truth is and say, yes, he said the best investment was helping people and save their lives, and I happen to have made a 21 return, that's the full context. You can't fact check that because that's the fact check truth.
Yep. Another thing to really think about with this kind of financial reckoning that's happening right now, a lot of people are talking about the stock market's great, the stock market is strong. All of that is just artificially inflated fake numbers. And just to kind of test it out, I invested $100 into the stock market in September. And I also invested $100 into Bitcoin in September. So as far as my stock market investment, which was just the kind of general exchange,
I think we get it.
I got $100. I'm left with $100 and around $12, $13. With Bitcoin, I already have $204.
Yeah, but here's what you got to understand about Bitcoin.
Investment.
Bitcoin's value, people don't get it.
Of course, they don't.
Let me tell you something very, very simple. Right now, when people are dead set on fiat currencies, the value of Bitcoin is just a currency protocol. Meaning if I want to send someone money very quickly, I buy the Bitcoin, send it to Luke, Luke sells the Bitcoin. US dollars to US dollars transacted immediately using Bitcoin as a form of protocol. So I don't care what the value of Bitcoin is. I just care that the immediate $100 value transfers to somebody who asked for it and transfers out. Luke gets $100 cash, I get $100 cash, and there's a small fee in between. But the people who are trading on it and buying more and more of it are controlling that protocol, which means in the future, as Bitcoin becomes more and more scarce, people who want to use it for its rapid transaction technology are going to have to buy it from people who are holding on to it and saying only for, $10,000 per coin. They're like, I don't care. I'm buying it and then selling it in 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. What do I care what you're selling it for?
Well, that's why more and more people are seeing it as a store of value. They're kind of seeing it as gold. And there's other cryptocurrencies that they kind of use in order to have these faster kind of transactions. I don't want to name any because I don't want to be accused
I was just
of
thinking the
pumping
same
them.
thing, man.
Can I say the craziest thing anyone's ever said about Bitcoin?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
What is Max Kaiser saying right now about the price of Bitcoin? Do you know?
That it's going to go hyperbolic even higher from
28,000.
here?
28. By when?
I think this year. I think he's saying this year. You know what I think? I don't have a timeline prediction, but I would not be surprised to see Bitcoin at $1 million per coin. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying in a year or 2 or 3,
Well,
5, 10. I'm just saying
if the Weimar Germany has any historical impact on, or what would you say, any reference to what's going on? Yeah.
Another thing we have to understand
I mean buying power right now.
It's relative to the dollar.
I'm saying buying power. I mean, maybe.
So if the dollar goes down 10,000%, Bitcoin goes up 10,000%, just like in the blink of an eye, because we're relating it to the value of the dollar.
I'm saying consider the buying power of the dollar right now, and I would think a Bitcoin at some point would be comparable to $1 million. And the reason is because Bitcoin can only, it's entropy.
It's
Bitcoin,
a scarce entity.
No, it's not just that. It can only be destroyed. So if people need to use Bitcoin for transactions, and it has the most confidence, look, these other coins, they come in, they go. Then over the next several years, we're going to see a decreasing amount of Bitcoins, but an increase in the utility and the need for it. More and more people will adopt it, and more people and less coins will exist. That means the only thing Bitcoin can do is go up, but people don't realize it. You hear these financial people saying things like, "It makes no sense that the price of Bitcoin is so high. It doesn't. I don't understand," because they don't get it. Most people, I shouldn't say most people, but a lot of people who are transacting Bitcoins, it's like I mentioned. How can I get some quick cash to Luke? I go to a website, I buy Bitcoin, transfer to Luke.
It
Luke
takes
sells
a
it
few
immediately.
days for you to get it, though. Like if you go to Coinbase and buy it, it takes
If you
3
go through the
days.
KYC official establishment kind of
which is
ways,
know your
yes,
customer,
but this is the
KYC.
crazy thing about Bitcoin. I could have $1 million, $2 million, $10 million all in a passcode in my head, and I could go anywhere and open that wallet anytime without
so
anyone
awesome.
stopping me or taking it away from me. And that's a
utility.
huge
That's the way it should
threat
be. We
because the
should have
government
our-
can't regulate it. It can't tax it. Of course, with Bitcoin, they could see all the transactions. They
can
could see
tax it.
where
Imagine
it goes.
if you could-
They are taxing
But
it.
Monero, they can't.
There are very vague and weird rules about it that still have. It's just an utter mess with how the government's treating this. But more importantly, Bitcoin is the first of its kind. But there's other coins out there, privacy coins,
Yeah.
whether Monero or
Monero's a good
Zcash,
one.
that allow people to have their
Zcash.
coins privately with them and privately transact with them without a middle person being able to see every little transaction like you can with Bitcoin. And another important aspect to really understand here is that Bitcoin is the first of its kind. It's not perfect,
right?
But it shows you that there's a new technological revolution like the printing press that is here, that is right now, that's going to revolutionize how we transact with each other. And there's a huge element of it trying to make it a statist, corporatist, government nightmare that's going to track, trace, and database you. We have to understand there's a big element of that, especially with Venezuela, Russia, and other countries, even the Federal Reserve and these big banks talking about creating their own coins when they know every little thing about you. And then there's another big battle happening right now with individuals with, I think it's Dash, Monero, Zcash, and other institutions that are trying to make it more of a privacy, freedom, liberty-oriented technology that will liberate and free people. But it could go either way. And it could be a tool that could enslave us, or it could be a tool that could free us. But right now, that battle is raging. I know a lot of people who are just douche flutes that want to drive Lamborghinis and have little e-girls surrounding them because they made a bunch of money on the and the market has been filled with a lot of those douche flutes. But there's also another element that is very important that came from this kind of Ron Paul liberty and the Fed movement that is still there, that is still integral, that is still fighting for this basic human right of privacy that I think is extremely important. And stop looking at the numbers, stop looking at the gains, stop trying to get rich. Look at the possibility here of actually having a technology that could be incredible for humanity.
Sure. Yes, but look at what's happening around us. When we look at the printing of 35% of all US dollars in 10 months. And people are posting, listen, I brought this up because I saw leftists, Bernie Sanders, progressive socialist types mocking capitalism. And they were like, look at this, it's going to be like Weimar Germany. You know what else was like Weimar Germany? Antifa in the streets, fighting with people on the right. We see the Proud Boys going out, burning things, fighting people, Antifa. 4 Proud Boys apparently get stabbed, put in critical condition, have to go to the hospital. Proud Boy not a Proud Boy, Patriot Prayer in Portland gets 2 bolts to the chest.
I think you're right on, man.
Listen, it's extremely destabilizing, printing this money like crazy, telling people they can't work. And what are we seeing right now? In New York, they're saying we're going into full lockdown. New York said full lockdown, indoor dining gone.
And how are they doing during the winter storm? There were some photos that came out that showed people literally with a mask on, full winter gear on, just trying to eat in this huge snow flurry.
Could you imagine
because
like
of these insane government protocols?
Could you imagine like ordering spaghetti and then like it comes out and there's a blizzard and then you're sitting there eating and then after like 5 minutes it's just an ice block and you're like frozen again.
As undercover New York City police officers are walking around trying to catch you to destroy you and put you in jail for having.
Now I want to tell you. I want to tell you.
Secret police.
Now we've said some crazy things. This printing of money is nuts. The federal debt to GDP is 128.6%. How insane is that? But there's one thing that's going to break the camel's back. George Clooney calls for movie theaters to receive federal bailout amid pandemic.
Yeah,
George
No.
Clooney calls for movie theaters to receive federal bailout money.
Well, he's
Now-
an actor, so
No, but these are movie theaters.
Dude,
Okay? It's a difference between
it's a dead art form.
movie theaters?
Yeah. Who
No.
hell
movie-
wants to pay a bunch of money to go sit in a building to watch something you could spin up on Netflix now?
I do.
On
I
a
love movie
giant
theaters.
monitor in your house.
I love movie theaters. What is it,
They're
like
fun.
a
It's an
50,
experience.
60-foot screen?
I feel like it's
and
nostalgia,
there's
but
popcorn. It's a
they're
fun
so
thing to do.
expensive to run. Like,
Yeah. And they're
We don't need
and,
them
and
anymore.
in New Jersey they're being all shut down. So this segue, the point is, I think it's interesting to see what I think is really happening with George Clooney calling for federal bailout money. You know where that money goes from movie theaters? It gets paid to the movie industry.
Yeah.
He's talking about giving himself a paycheck
He knows that.
without saying give me a paycheck. These hoity-toity say whatever celebrities love espousing all of the Democrat messages, and now the people they support have destroyed the economy. And in New Jersey, where AMC is like suing, I guess, and completely destroyed, he's like, oh, you got to bail out the movie theaters and give them some money. Yeah. And then when the movies can come back.
Let's talk about
I get money.
Nazism for a minute,
Wait,
because that's
what?
National Socialism, and he's trying to use socialism to fund these businesses. It sounds like
It's-
Weimar.
it's-
It sounds
it's
like
noth-
pre-World War II Germany. All
I
these
mean,
people talking about using
it's
more
not-
government money
That's
to
been
fund.
overused.
Yeah,
as a
that's-
Well,
reference.
let's talk about National Socialism.
Well,
What do you
okay,
want to
so-
use
so-
American money for again, guys? Come on, that's
Hollywood-
socialism.
Hollywood actors are the people who have pushed us into this mess, not entirely on their own, but they've been supporting lunatics like Newsom and these people like Cuomo, defending them, doing PSAs.
At the same
anti-Trump.
time as they tell you to protest Black Lives Matter in cringy little videos where they self-righteously tell you about how we need to apologize.
So let's play it two ways. Let's say they have all these massive protests for Black Lives Matter, and then we get a COVID pandemic. Okay, that's your fault. You're the one telling the people to go outside. Then the people they've supported politically destroy all these businesses, and then he goes, just print us some money, why don't you? Just print us some money, huh? How about that? Yeah, you know what, man? These people are something else.
I
huh?
guess the Nazis didn't have crypto. We need to look at this like pre-World War II Germany, because we're in a situation where if a strong man came in, Trump, if he had gone psycho, probably could have done a Hitler thing, but he didn't.
Well, we're talking about Hollywood, Luke.
Yes.
So what do you think about George Clooney?
Very kind of.
Tell us.
I mean, I pulled up the article here, and it's absolutely just flabbergasted to see so many low information idiots out there always thinking that we could just print more money and then everything is solved. Everything just magically comes back
it's
together.
about doing it for themselves.
Well, exactly.
It's about them
what
being.
else? What else is their entire career about? What else is their entire virtual signaling about? What else is their entire kind of life about other than give me enough money and I'll read the scripts and I'll do it and I'll perform it in a better way than anyone else on the face of the world? That's exactly what acting is.
But these people are advertisements.
Yeah.
That's what they've always been. And so when it comes to the Democrats, they've always gone to these personalities and these celebrities to use them to essentially gain power, to manipulate. And it's marketing. I want to make it seem like it's all that nefarious. They find people that are popular. They pay them to say the message. These people get elected. And now that these people are saying, oh, no, our industry has gone belly up. Well, that's what you supported.
Exactly. And if
So
there's
if
enough
you want-
money, they'll do anything for that money. And it's kind of sad. When you look at Hollywood, it's truly an industry that is extremely seedy, extremely disgusting, that you see so many horror stories come out of. And when you look at a lot of these celebrities, I mean, we even saw, Dr. Fauci, I think he's kind of considered a celebrity. He came out today and he said, people shouldn't really spend Christmas with their family members together. Gretchen Whitmore, the governor of Michigan, released in a horrible video with her
With
and
Santa.
Santa and children, with Santa telling the little kids, remember, listen to the governor, and Whitmer saying, it's best if you don't spend Christmas with your family members.
Listen.
But hold on, let me just make a little point here, because I think it's important to understand here that these same individuals are abusing this entire situation for their own personal gain. And if let's say there was an actual real threat, say there actually was a big, huge, serious illness, sickness going around, if they were taking it seriously and they were saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't protest, hey, maybe we shouldn't have Best Buy open for Black Friday, everyone lined up and outside, maybe we shouldn't be celebrating a presidential victory and drinking booze and sharing it with everyone. Maybe if they were taking it seriously themselves, maybe I would, but I will never be lectured by these fat cat plutocrats who don't listen to their own orders telling me what to do. I'm sorry, they don't take it seriously. I'm not going to take it seriously either, and it's disgusting to see them and this larger establishment always push out these dumb ideas that bring down our national IQ to this insane level where right now we literally have Santa Claus being used and abused to make sure that little children love and worship a governor.
It's an extraction. It's an extraction. These people don't think about the better future for everybody. These people aren't the ones saying a rising tide raises all ships. What they're saying is there's only so much water in this bay. I better take it for myself, not realizing what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So when we see people like Clooney in Hollywood, he's like, well, what he's basically saying is we're one of the biggest exporters, so we must be subsidized. Bro, printing money and giving it to you won't produce product to send over the world. That's a BS excuse. You're an ultra wealthy individual, mad your industry's in trouble just like everybody else's, but you think they should bail you out. Well, maybe you shouldn't support the people who shut down your industry, and that's what you did. And at the same time, these Democrat governors who got the support from these celebrities are the ones who are basically saying, how much can I extract from the working class before the system goes belly up? That's what we see with Gretchen Whitmer. She's burning it all down, and as it all crumbles, she's looting the burning homes of the townspeople.
And then George Clooney and all these other celebritards are seeing this as a massive opportunity, saying, "Give me some of the money before
I'll say whatever you want me to say.
Bust." Exactly. And
yeah,
that's
but come
exactly
on.
what
Remember
he
the
is.
Panama Papers? How many
Yep.
of these celebrities popped up in this having money overseas?
Yep, a whole lot of
I can't remember who it was, but there was some woman. And I can't remember exactly. It was some female celebrity, and she was like, "I had no idea. Oh, it's just my advisors were putting my money in Panama." And then wasn't it the person who leaked, like one of the journalists covering the Panama Papers turned up dead?
Yes, there was.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, that did happen. I don't know the exact parameters behind that, but the story hasn't been covered as widely as it should. But
Just
I think
disappeared one day.
Yeah. Well, I think it was more of a blatant kind of attack and assassination. I would have to look into it more to give you more exact details, but I remember hearing a lot about that. But I think the Mexican president pretty much accurately depicts what's going on. He recently came out and he said the lockdowns are just a form of dictatorship. Yeah. So he's not locking down Mexico. Life in Mexico is a lot different than it is in the United States. And who would have ever thought that, Mexico is doing a lot better than the United States?
How much you want to bet the peso is going to start going up?
Well, it depends. The
Relative to the
peso is
dollar.
also very closely tied into the U.S. dollar. A lot of foreign currencies are tied into the U.S. dollar. So if we see the dollar go, we're going to see the whole world currency be affected by it very severely, as the U.S. dollar is the world reserve currency.
See, listen. This is the benefit of the military-industrial complex and the petrodollar. This is the benefit of the U.S. saying, we'll blow you up if you don't agree to our dollar. Like, Gaddafi or Saddam Hussein, right?
Exactly. And again, we have to understand here, with these extreme times, governments are just using this as an opportunity. The ship is sinking. They're trying to take as much as they can as it goes down. And I think that's really exemplified. There was a recent report that studied the lockdowns and the COVID responses from governments, and they ruled that freedom is the biggest casualty of COVID-19, not just
they
in the United
ruled or they found.
Well, I think it also ruled.
Determined,
ruled, found out,
concluded,
whatever word you want to use here. But this was a pretty stunning report by an international group that looked into all the government's responses from Africa to Asia. And they outlined how, in Nigeria, there was massive crackdowns on protest. And the restrictions were set in place to make sure that there wasn't anyone challenging the political status quo there. In Bolivia, they postponed the general elections. In Sri Lanka, the government accelerated its authoritarian agenda, stepping up efforts to control independent reporting and, quote, unfavorable speech by ordering the arrest of anyone who criticized the government. And we're seeing this not just done in democratically heavy states and cities in the United States, but we're seeing this done all over the world using this pandemic, using COVID-19 as an excuse to ravage our civil liberties, to ravage our freedoms, and to take whatever they want for themselves.
And it's working, and they're getting away with it.
It is working for
The
now.
mail-in voting thing was another example of that.
Changing 20, what is it? Rand Paul said 24 states changed their election rules without approval from their state legislatures.
Yeah.
24. Cuomo is banning symbols he doesn't like.
I'm concerned that this will be used as a premise to war. I told my friend that we were talking about Trump's drone strikes, and I was like, well, what if my fear is that the drones get hacked and then they're flown back over? Or
Well,
that
Iran did that.
Yeah, or that there's like an unknown assailant from orbit that torches a bunch of U.S. cities and we don't know who did it. And he was like, it's China. If something happens, it's China. And I realized that brainwashing hatred towards China could be used as a false flag.
It's more likely it's Russia.
Yeah, or something like that.
That's what
and
just
this
happened.
assumption that it's another country. It could be a privateer, a corporation.
I mean, me and Tim were talking about this before the show, and Tim brought up an important fact that when Trump came in...
Hold on. Let's start with the breaking news first. So this is what's being reported now. Multiple outlets have carried the story. Russian hackers breached Microsoft as part of their campaign that infiltrated the U.S. nuclear weapons stockpile network. The Los Alamos lab and the Energy Department officials reveal. So this is the latest update on what they're saying is the biggest cyber attack in history. I know that's not a lot to say because cyber infrastructure is new, relatively only the past couple of decades, but this is an act of war. I mean, that's basically what they're getting at. They broke into our nuclear weapons stockpile. Now, here's the important fact in all of this. How do we know it was Russia?
Exactly.
How do we know we even got hacked?
Exactly.
See, remember when they said the Gulf of Tonkin incident was legitimate?
Mm-hmm.
Then when people questioned it, they said, you're a conspiracy theorist. And then they finally came out and they're like, we actually faked that whole thing to enter the Vietnam War.
Do you know what it was exactly? They blew up a ship of theirs, the United States.
Oh, they didn't blow it up at all.
What happened exactly?
My understanding is that the initial report was, I think the Viet Cong fired on a U.S. Destroyer, I believe. I can pull it up. But the general idea was that one of our vessels was attacked in the Gulf of Tonkin. And this was used as a rallying cry, like, oh, they've attacked us. We must enter the war. Everybody who said it never happened was called a conspiracy theorist, and it was absurd to believe the media was lying about it. And then I think it was like, 10 years ago or whatever, they were like, oh, that whole thing? Yeah, we faked it. We wanted to go to war, so we just made it up.
Yeah, but the documents were released, and people found out that the government absolutely lied to start a pointless war that wasn't about anything that they were telling the people it was actually about. And because of that, tens of thousands of Americans died, and then hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese people died. That led to tremendous human suffering, and just the United States, again, losing a war that it was in for what reason?
Check this out. This is what the Wikipedia... So Wikipedia is pretty, pretty
they
biased.
hate
right?
me. Yeah.
Check this out. Here's what they wrote. On Sunday, August 2nd, 1964, the destroyer USS Maddox, while performing signals intelligence patrol as part of the DeSoto operations, was falsely claimed to have been approached by 3 North Vietnamese Navy torpedo boats of the 135th Torpedo Squadron. Maddox fired 3 warning shots, and it was claimed the North Vietnamese boats attacked with torpedoes and machine gun fire. Maddox expended over 283-inch 76-millimeter and 5-inch 130-millimeter shells. Wow! In a sea battle, according to the false report, 1 U.S. aircraft was damaged. 3 North Vietnamese torpedo boats were damaged, and 4 North Vietnamese sailors were killed, with 6 more wounded. There were no U.S. casualties. Maddox was, quote, unscathed except for a single bullet hole from a Vietnamese machine gun round. It was originally claimed by the NSA that a second Gulf of Tonkin incident occurred, et cetera, et cetera. So initially the reports were all that, we got attacked. Oh, isn't this hilarious? Wait, the original American report blamed North Vietnam for both incidents, but the Pentagon Papers, the memoirs of Robert McNamara, and NSA publications from 2005 proved the U.S. government lied to justify a war against Vietnam. Does that name sound familiar?
Yeah.
Robert McNamara.
And we have to understand this history of starting false flags in order to get a country into war is something that's common, and it happens a lot, whether it's the Reichstag fire, whether it's even the conversation with the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staffs in the 60s talking about Operation Northwoods, faking,
but JFK,
of course.
JFK said, get out of here with that stuff.
Well, yeah, but Operation Northwoods literally talked about having fake hijackings. There was, of course, the baby in incubators in Iraq, 9/11, and there was many other instances that happened all throughout world history that showed how very powerful people conspired in order to lie to their people to think that they were under
very
attack.
common.
So that's why we have to understand.
We cite things on this show. So instead of just moving on, we stop.
I want to make
and
a
we
big
pull
point
it
here.
up. We pull up Operation Northwoods was a
Okay.
proposed false flag operation against the Cuban government that originated with the U.S. Department of Defense and the Joint Chiefs of Staff in the U.S. in 1962. The proposals called for the CIA and or other U.S. government operations to stage or actually commit acts of terror against American military and civilian targets and blaming them on the Cuban government. This is on Wikipedia,
Yes.
and you don't got to trust me, but whatever. It's there. It exists.
Yeah. So again, what I was trying to say here, there's a lot of instances of this happening. So to think that there wouldn't be a digital false flag is something that is very naive, especially when we look at the revelations from Edward Snowden that revealed how intelligence agencies in the United States have the capability to launch false flag internet hacking attacks to make it look like another country is attacking us. So the United States intelligence agencies have that capability. Are they using it? Who actually hacked us? What actually happened here? Good luck trying to find any evidence.
Well, so
good luck
here's
trying to find any information regarding to exactly what happened with this latest hack.
Here's the important thing I'll say to this. Did Russia hack the U.S. in one of the most sophisticated and consequential cyber attacks in history?
Unknown.
Unknown.
Yeah, we don't.
Possibly. That's what they're reporting. That's what they're saying. It's going to be really, really hard to prove that. When it comes to something like the Gulf of Tonkin, you can show a ship with smoke coming out of it.
You should look up the burning of the Reichstag.
When it comes to digital hacks, we only have official reports and statements. You know, the problem I have with it is I seem to remember a guy named, I think it was Clapper, when he lied and claimed there was no
James
mass surveillance.
Clapper, yeah.
No
He
mass
lied to
surveillance.
Congress
Yeah.
under
Yeah.
oath.
Yeah.
U.S.
And then-
General Hayden, and that said there was no spying program at all. When I confronted him about the, family-friendly show, the guys in the NSA who were caught
having fun to
masturbating?
images.
Super family friendly.
I love that word, by the way.
Having fun with
doing
while watching-
inappropriate
Playing
things with their
toys?
hands, spying on people's private
Playing
phone
video
pictures.
games.
Yes.
No, not playing video games. Sorry, Ian.
I don't know
but
this
again,
story.
General
What
Hayden
happened?
lied to me and told me, no, there's no spying program. Doesn't exist.
Of course they're lying. They're lying all the time.
Yep.
And Edward Snowden and Julian Assange exposed a lot of that lying.
Mm-hmm.
Trump should pardon Julian Assange.
Just
First and
like
foremost.
just like Ellsberg
should-
exposed the Gulf of Tonkin in the Pentagon Papers. These guys like Snowden and Assange exposed this stuff with what got exposed by any false flags get exposed by these guys?
By what, Snowden?
Yeah, Snowden
No,
and
Snowden
Assange.
exposed that they were lying to the American people about warrantless and mass surveillance.
Just
Yeah,
generally
we didn't
lying.
get-
Stealing your information. And they lie. And that's what they
always
do. That's
have.
what they've done. And it's because they're not beholden to anybody. They're an entity unto themselves.
The term false flag is so basic. Back in the day, thousands of years ago, a king would go and take a flag of his enemy and put it on a bunch of troops and then go burn down one of his own cities and be
Right.
like, they did it, let's go to war. And everyone would be like, okay.
Yep, to
Yeah,
get the
that's
people.
history.
But morale is so when it comes to going way back in history, you see the point of the false flag was you could make people go to war, but if there's no morale and there's no energy and zeal in that war, people don't fight very well. But if you show them, look, they're flying the flag of Gilder. They kidnapped Princess Buttercup.
Indeed.
Yes. Then people will be like, how dare you? They'll be really angry and they'll feel it and they'll want to fight hard.
They have yellow cake and they have weapons of mass destructions.
do.
And the first Gulf War was really something extremely eye-opening, since they literally hired a PR firm to talk about how babies in incubators were ripped out by the Iraqi military and thrown to the ground and brutally assassinated by the Iraqis. And of course, all of that came out to be an absolute lie.
Yeah, and the media really didn't go hard that was a lie.
Yes, and then people need to understand that was the first justification to get into the first Gulf War, which was, again, absolutely pointless.
You brought up
and idiotic.
the burning of the Reichstag earlier,
Yeah.
and this is when this is what Hitler used as an impetus to create the Appeasement Act, and he said that when the Reichstag, the capital
Or wasn't
of,
it the Enabling Act?
the Enabling Act,
Enabling
thank you, it was
yeah.
called the Enabling Act, that when the Reichstag was burned down, he blamed the communists and said, the communists burned down our parliamentary capital, we need to take away everyone's civil liberties and establish martial law. And that was 1933, that was the beginning of Hitler's reign of terror, more or less.
He also launched a false flag attack on the Polish border at a radio station, saying that the Poles were attacking. He dressed up some prisoners.
He
and-
blamed the Polish guy for burning the Reichstag.
I don't know if the guy who burned the Reichstag was Polish, but there was a separate false flag incident on the Polish-German border saying the Polish invaded and they're attacking our radio stations, and it was literally just a bunch of criminals that they got put in Polish uniforms and then shot up and murdered.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
So they did some tests on the Reichstag and were like, could what if Hitler said happened? Could one guy have burned down this entire building as quickly as it did?
They
And
blamed a communist for burning it down.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's how
of
they
course.
did it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So we have to be more attentive than ever with the possibility of a false flag happening right now. And if it does, we have to understand the people who question it or ask for evidence or any kind of information regarding it will be automatically wiped off from the internet. So I think this is a major concern of mine because this ability to be able to communicate rightful information, I mean, especially during 9/11, a lot of people had very serious questions about what happened then. A lot of family members, a lot of rescue workers, a lot of survivors that I personally met and knew that were there had very serious questions. And a lot of their voices, a lot of their concerns was able to go out there to the general public because of the internet. Now we're living in such a tightly controlled space where I really doubt that they would even have a voice in today's modern day and age if 9/11 happened again.
I worked at 9/11. I worked at the Trade Center. I worked at the American Express building across the street, and I would work with the firemen, and they would come in, and I would ask, like, well, where are the bodies? And they say, well, when we find a fireman, we know because we don't find bodies, but we find the jacket, which is heat resistant. We find this white Twizzlery substance inside of it, which is the bone. Everything else is melted away. And they would fold it up and they would take it. And he said, we don't find bodies. The bodies are in the liquid under our feet running down into the East River. They're all melted. And I didn't know why they were. I didn't know at the time. I just thought, okay, underneath the collapsed building is hot.
The Reichstag fire is not officially a false flag.
They don't know.
Not officially.
Yeah, they've done tests.
They think that Hitler was using it as pretext, but the official history is that they had a trial and they blamed this guy, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. But they've done tests to see if the guy could have burned down the entire building as quickly as it happened, and they think it's impossible, that it would have taken multiple people in multiple areas of the building to set the fires and to have it all go up like it did.
It's interesting. So what happens if Antifa does something in Washington, D.C., and then Trump is like, oh, and then he calls them an insurrection act like Trump supporters want?
It could go either way. It could be Antifa, it could be Proud Boys, whatever the excuse is. We have to understand that the political establishment doesn't care who they throw under the bus.
So
it most likely could be Proud Boys, but it also could be Antifa, because I could see a lot of Antifa. Right now, they're not doing anything. They're kind of dormant, especially with the lockdowns, especially with the quasi-martial laws that are happening, which is especially perplexing. It should be perplexing for a lot of people, unless you're paying attention.
Anti-fascists would be coming out against the
Exactly, they're not. But I think there's going to be a resurgence protest, and I think Donald Trump's words of saying that Antifa is going to have Biden for breakfast, I think he said something similar to that atonement.
Oh, they're excited.
I think they're going to have a heyday under his administration.
Already, there is Newsweek publishing one of the craziest fake news stories I've ever seen, where they claimed the Proud Boys were wearing a shirt that basically glorified the Holocaust. And that's just the lightest way I can put it, because I can't tell you what they're claiming the Proud Boys were wearing, but this is just absolutely insane. There's no way that's true. And there was this image they posted of a shirt of an eagle holding the fasces, the symbol of fascism, and I'm like, that's insane.
Isn't that on the back of the U.S. dollar?
No,
that eagle with its talons holding the arrows in one foot, and
they're not holding the fascists.
It's kind of like a bundle of sticks. It's a bunch of arrows.
Well, we have to understand, covering many protests and demonstrations, you know this too, there's always some crazy, insane person. And if you want to cover a protest, if you want to make someone look bad, you always cover the crazy, insane person there. And you selectively choose.
But they didn't have any photos of this guy. There's no photos, there's no videos.
And again, it's very hard to believe anything they say right now, since they're literally making stuff up out of thin air just to generate headlines, just to generate clicks, just to generate revenue for themselves, as they're a part of a dying, fleeting industry that's becoming obsolete.
We got to be careful about blaming any political party for any of this violence, because that's what Hitler did. He blamed the communists.
Well, that's why I'm saying.
Well, that's not a political party.
I know, but Antifa or Proud Boys, we got to be careful about pulling these guys into it.
I'm saying with the history of false flags, it could go either way. It could be blamed on Antifa. It could be blamed on Proud Boys. It could be blamed on a totally new group of people that are meant to take the blame.
ISIS
so
was one.
There's a lot of possibilities here that we have to understand are possible here, because the realm of possibility is very wide. And we have to understand, at the end of the day, it's always their objective that matters the most, that we have to be careful love.
Dude,
So
I'm-
let me tell you, it's only a matter of time before we get nuked. Before this channel is gone, this channel is deranked.
Jeez, I thought you meant a real nuke. That was terrifying.
I was
no,
about
no,
to bring
no.
up the aliens.
It's only a matter of time before we're suspended because
Well-
I mean, think about the things we're talking about right now.
This is good stuff.
These are dangerous
Needs to be talked about.
conversations. The establishment does not want
Yeah,
people
but
to know
Google's
about.
not the establishment. That's what's cool.
It's the most powerful corporation on the
I know,
planet.
but the establishment is competing with them.
Bro, did you see the video of the Google employees crying when they announced Trump won and the CEO and the president and all the people being like, we know, we're going to resist and make sure it doesn't happen again? They're the establishment. They call me and they tell me I can't talk about certain things. They tell me this, like, we're letting you know because we like you and we want you to play ball. And I have my limits because I think getting the message out to the best of my abilities is better than just giving up. But there's a line. And we're getting dangerously close to it,
Dude.
We got big news right here that we got to talk about.
Okay.
From Fox News, Twitter to expand COVID-19 vaccines policy to combat harmful, misleading tweets. Twitter will begin enforcing their updated policy on misleading tweets surrounding COVID-19 vaccines on December 21st. So now, as we're getting stories about, say, anaphylaxis out of Alaska. And I've got Democrats accusing me of being an anti-vaxxer for pointing out a health warning issued by the government. So even talking about what's true is considered a threat to these tribalists. We know that Twitter is basically ideologically tribalist left as well. So how long until I see a story that says Bell's palsy, people got Bell's palsy after getting the vaccine. They don't think it's significant because the same amount of people who get it normally or whatever. And whatever the point is, what happens if I'm like, wow, that's something people should know? And then someone at Twitter says, that's anti-vax. Delete.
We will use the fervor to start a new network.
Well, we have to understand, if they really were to enforce this rule, they would have to take down the British government's ability to publish information. They would have to
be real.
I know.
on. They won't. They'll allow the British.
Of course they won't.
They'll
Of course
ban
they won't.
you when you bring it up.
I'm saying on the merits of what actually should happen. There's a big difference between what actually does happen, because again, we have to understand what the bigger point that I'm trying to make here, that this is a bigger disguise in order to limit more speech, in order to control people, in order to have just an excuse to destroy the competition of the mainstream media and to destroy the voice of anyone questioning the establishment narrative, which they are desperately trying to hold on to, because the only thing these people have is their propaganda, and it only works if it goes unchallenged. And challenging it, questioning it, is becoming more and more outlawed, more and more dangerous to even speak about. And that's why earlier you saw the way I started the show. There's a reason
little baby hands.
There's a
Very
reason
honest.
I gave you a hand.
I'm gonna let y'all in on an open secret.
Yeah.
The only reason this show exists is because YouTube allows it to.
Yeah.
And it's not
and
just
because
about
you do it.
It's not just about us getting banned. It's about the fact that 80% of views for all of my channels come from YouTube's recommendations. That's it. My views would probably be in the tens of thousands based off of people who actually want to seek out and watch my content. But most people, it's between 60 and 80, depending on what the content is, are not subscribed. And when they see it, they'll go to youtube.com and YouTube will say, watch this video. If YouTube at any point decided this conversation is over, it is. Because regular people are only getting it because they're seeing it in their recommendations.
Yeah. And this is absolutely wild, because if you look at our conversations, we are trying to be careful. We're trying to tell you both sides of the story. We're trying to be as fair and as honest as we can. And I think, I don't want to, I don't think we could even compare ourselves to the mainstream media, which is bloodthirsty for power.
Yeah.
This is mainstream now.
Well,
dude, this channel gets like 20 million views per month, and CNN gets 210 million.
They're both mainstream.
a lot of those are airport views, though.
No, CNN's
Yeah, but
YouTube
this is like a
views.
six-man operation. This is insane. It's awesome.
But also,
Sure,
we have
sure.
to understand the tables are tilted towards YouTube's playing favoritism
That's
towards
true.
YouTube, because everything you search always comes
So
up.
let me
CNN,
just
Fox
say,
News.
everybody listening right now, if you really do think we're doing a good job and what we talk about is important, please consider sharing the link whenever you can. Because, I bring up the recommendation thing, and I see it. There have been periods where YouTube had these glitches, I'll do air quotes,
Yeah.
where people were like, Tim, your video isn't appearing on your channel. People just couldn't watch it at all.
Yep.
So and it happens, and it was funny because I can't remember what the video was, but it was very much like, I think it had to do with the CIA and Trump or something, and it just didn't appear. Just how strange was that? And I had no idea why.
Yep.
And so I had to, I deleted it and re-uploaded it, and then it was there an hour later. Very, very strange.
Could be
It
a
wasn't on my
bug,
channel.
but could
There's
be
a lot of strange
could be
things
a bug,
going on.
You know, could be a bug. But I think it's like, listen, if I put up content and randomly one day something weird happens, you know, maybe it's a bug. When it's the one video talking about some serious political
Still
CIA,
might be a bug. I know from personal.
Yeah, it still might be a bug.
Yeah.
But it's a question of, you know, not to be too conspiratorial. We know for a fact YouTube throttles. They tell us they do. They have deranking mechanisms. It was Nerd City, I believe. He's a YouTuber. You guys check him out. He's really great. He found, I guess, these codes embedded in YouTube's. If you search the source, the inspect source on the page, you would find these codes that would pop up, and they were able to find out that they were like derank mechanisms. Oh. So we know it exists. We do. If YouTube wants, they can make it so that people don't get notifications, and oftentimes they don't. Mm-hmm. And then when people don't get notifications, they eventually start to forget. They stop watching the content.
When we start doing our own network that's like shortwave radio / mesh network, bypassing, it's going to be so awesome.
We've got the proprietary website coming soon, very, very soon. It's being built right now. And that's going to be where we do our best to make sure, like, if you really are a big fan of the show, you come in and you can watch there and you can get stuff there. And even if we get nuked, we'll still exist. But I'll tell you this, man. YouTube is the town hall, the city square, all that stuff. And people are going to youtube.com. They're walking in and looking at this field. And what's happening is there's people everywhere yelling and talking about a bunch of stuff. And YouTube is going, check out these ones. These are big. These are cool. And that helps us. That helps this show. But at any point, they could be like, you guys, get out.
Dude, and to think that.
But then we're relegated to, you know, our little wacky shack a couple miles away, and we're holding up a sign saying, guys, we're still over here. Viewership will be dramatically decreased.
Band.video.
Revenue will be, I mean, look what, you know. But Jones gets a ton of views on Band.video. He gets a
Good.
lot.
He's one of the few exceptions, but I've been telling my audience, you know, I love you guys. Thank you so much for sharing my videos, because if you didn't, no one else would be watching them, and we would be foolish to think that the algorithm isn't used in a way that benefits a lot of the special interests.
YouTube's got us in a trap. It's a trick. Let me tell you the trick. When I look at some of these podcasts, let me tell you, we are ranked on iTunes on this show. Timcast IRL is ranked, I think, like right now, I think it's like or like 211 or maybe 176. It changes every single day. And then my main podcast is was at ranked 34 top iTunes charts at one point. Now it's down to like 130 something. Based on the amount of traffic we're getting to these shows, we should be some of the wealthiest podcasters, but we're not doing what all of these other podcasts are doing. What's really interesting is that there are podcasts that have 1/10 of the viewership, but everybody pays $5 a month. So you get somebody on Twitch, one of these high-profile lefties, and they have 100,000 followers, but half of them are giving $5 a month. These people are millionaires.
That's pretty badass, because that's like 10 cents per show or 15 cents per show.
That's when I was thinking, like, YouTube's got us in this trick where they're like, stay on this platform. We do the YouTube rev for you, but don't you say the wrong thing. And I'm like, okay, we need both. We need a proprietary platform. That's what we're going to build. That way people can support directly, and then we can start to rival some of these bigger networks and do better productions and get bigger. And then we can avoid the bans and stuff like that.
Well, I think right now that's why YouTube just instituted a new policy. Even if you're not in the partner program or have been kicked out of the partner program, they could still run ads on your channel without sharing any other revenue. And I mean, my channel's fully out of the program, fully demonetized. They were supposed to review me in a month. It's been, I think, over 8 months now. Of course, it's making me scramble and think of other ways to make ends meet. But, you know, that's why, you know, did t-shirts and did other things. But essentially down the line, we have to understand that this is something that's affecting everyone, because they enticed everyone with this amazing utility, this amazing tool. They were like, you know, very smart drug dealers that give you just a sample of that crack for free when you're down and out. And then the crackhead takes a little bit of crack, and then essentially they become a full-blown crackhead.
Partner program.
And they become addicted to it, and then they have no other way, no other avenue to express themselves or do anything without that constant hint of validation that YouTube provides.
I've got a very, very important super chat as we now go to super chats that just came in, and it's very, very important and convenient. And this is from 8 o'clock. This is from an hour and a half ago. Morgan H. said, I think Tim is being shadow banned. I normally get a notice as soon as the event is announced, but tonight I had to come look for it. That's what I'm saying. So there's a lot of people who watch simply because they got recommended this, and they're like, oh, what's this? And I'll come and click it. And there's a lot of people who are like, I like to watch this show every night. But if YouTube decides it, we just don't exist on the platform anymore. Viewership is gone. And I'll tell you this, we're in a position right now, it's rather dangerous, that without that recommendation, the show doesn't generate enough revenue to actually exist. That's why we got to do this proprietary website where you know, there are some podcasts that are like ranked 7,000 in the world or 10,000 in the world. And I'll let you in on the secret. These are podcasts that get like 10,000 downloads per episode. That sounds like very, very little to a lot of people, especially people who watch YouTube videos. My YouTube videos get 500,000. So to look at a podcast on iTunes getting 10,000, these people are millionaires. No joke. They're millionaires. So I tell you, like the YouTube is a trick. You know, the real key is to make sure you're actually running a business.
Totally.
And getting customers and fans and working with them and producing content for them.
And you
directly.
can pay like extra to get the behind this, or like we're going to set
gonna
up
do that.
GoPros in the skate shop.
We're building a skate shop.
So cool.
We're building a skate
So
shop.
fun.
We got so many rooms to
a
put
bar.
GoPros in.
We're gonna have events, and we're gonna do one of the things we're gonna do is we're gonna have bonus member segments for the website. So that way, you know, like everything we do now, we do super chats, but we've got a couple more stories we never get into, right? We got some creepy ones we mentioned early on we might not get to. And that's something we'll be like, okay, if we didn't get to it, then we're going to put it on the site for, you know, the people who want to be members, and we'll have merchandise and discounts and all that stuff. Because that's the way we got to do it if we want to make this a big network and survive beyond what YouTube is. But more importantly, once we get this site up, here's the best part. We're going to have segments for members only where we get spicy. Where we
That's
can
what I'm
say the
talking
things
about.
YouTube will not let us say. Yeah. Where Luke can go off the rails and scream about the aliens and the Nordics
All
and
the false
Greys.
I like getting
flags.
spice. I like spice. I have a lot to
Yes,
say.
get
I've
hot.
been stopping myself from expressing it.
I'll be swearing
But there's names
Just
we
for no
can't
reason.
say.
Yeah.
just as
There's
much as I
names.
can.
Yeah.
But think about this
All
too.
of it.
The risk we were put under for simply wanting to have Alex Jones on the show.
Yeah.
They
took his show. That was so sad.
and that was like 2 million
Go to
views. It's
BitChute and
huge.
find it, you guys, because that show was epic.
Millions. It was
And we
crazy.
can re-upload it on our new platform.
Once we get
We can probably put all the episodes onto the new platform, have everything there.
But
and then
we're gonna
keep
start
going,
doing,
and then put
like-
clips on YouTube.
the ultimate spicy segments, you know, and the silly segments too, and really just say whatever we want and laugh and it's crazy because you can't even make jokes
I know,
on YouTube.
dude. I'm like
You can't make
straining my
jokes.
mind as we sit here.
Yep. So this is what YouTube wants, and I told them this. I was like, you guys are forcing us, all the creators, to make something of our own. Now I know a lot of people point out other platforms are like, why don't you go on Patreon? Why don't you go on Locals?
Why don't you go on Minds?
Locals is a million times better than Patreon, no doubt. But you still don't want to be under someone else's control.
And the ISP is a bit concerning, but they're not as hardcore. You really got to go and do crazy stuff to get the ISPs involved.
But we're heading in that direction.
Maybe. That's why I like mesh networking.
We need something like the Fediverse. We need decentralized social media. That's what we really need. And people have tried to do it for a long time, but
We need a free and open internet like the original internet before it was squeegee clean by the corporatist globalist.
The original internet was Wild West, man.
I loved it.
People were doing crazy nonsense.
Yep.
You know, somewhere on the dark web, the deep web, there's an animation of, you know, Macho Man Randy Savage doing the banana dance
Yep,
for
on
peanut
a
butter jelly time
GeoCities.
on a GeoCity somewhere.
The
Yep.
dark web is something crazy. I've never gone to the dark web, and I don't. Maybe I would.
The dark
but
web.
apparently, it's in another internet. That's underneath the internet.
Yeah,
And
but
you
that
can get,
just means
the
non-indexed
illegal
websites.
stuff there.
No. It just means non-indexed
Wait,
websites.
not the dark net. I'm thinking of the dark net. Yeah,
The dark net and the deep web are the same thing.
Okay.
And it's a reference to non-indexed
That's
websites.
where like the Silk Road was.
That was the Onion network.
Yeah, Tor.
Yeah.
Right? That's different.
The Onion router.
Right. So those were that was a
You had
different
Tor's a browser that you use to access that stuff without being found out.
Yep. Well, maybe Trump will pardon Ross Ulbricht.
I hope
Is that
so.
how you pronounce
I
it, or
hope
was it
so.
Ulbricht?
Well,
Ulbricht.
there was a Daily Beast article, according to two of their sources, allegedly anonymous sources, but they say that they're inside of the White House, that Trump is considering pardoning Ross Ulbricht and is favorable to that idea. And if that's true, I mean, that would be huge. I know Ross's mother gave me the first interview ever publicly speaking about what actually happened to Ross, and her story is absolutely incredible. Her name is Lynn Albrecht. The way that everything the government said was happening with Ross turned out to be absolutely not true. The amount of lying, the amount of disinformation surrounding this case will make your head spin.
Wow.
And check out Lynn Albrecht, and maybe if you put in We Are Change, you'll be able to see our interview. I interview her at least once a year. She gives us updates about this case, but she's been trying to get Ross's name out there to the general public for a while, because if you essentially look at that case, the main legal argument against him is that he ran a website that other people did something bad on, which if that's the case, then Mark Zuckerberg should definitely be in jail too.
Right on. Well, let's go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, smash the like button. And, I mean it. We should probably do better promotion on the show of telling people to share the link, share it with your friends.
Yep.
I did, and I told everyone that
socials.
there's going to be a very special guest today.
But share the video.
Yes,
me.
true.
So
You
so
did.
listen.
I retweeted
To
it.
everybody listening right now, assuming that you actually like the show, maybe you hate our guts and you hate watch. But okay, fine.
Yes.
Then ignore this. But if you really do like the show, think about it this way. We have right now concurrent viewership is 42,546. If every single person shared this, and that was what everyone did
Dude,
every day,
we're talking
we
about a
would be
groundswell.
bigger than CNN.
We could start a
in month.
political movement in 2 days. We could.
Yep. But I think that's the thing is a lot of people are, I mean, no disrespect, it's more passive. Like they'll see the link, they'll click it, they'll turn it on, they'll go about playing their video games while listening to a podcast or something. And so they might not be at their computer. That's why it's like, we get 40 to 50,000 concurrents on average about. Sometimes we get bigger, like with Alex, we had 112 and, before that 160K. So it was really big shows. But not everybody likes, shares, or comments or anything like that. So
I just looked it up.
That's the kind of stuff you need to actually grow and start some kind of change in the media landscape.
Madison Square Garden seats 20,000. We've got more than double the size of
Every
Madison
day.
Square Garden here right now.
Every day. So think about that though. If you are a fan of the show and you think what we're doing as well, and Luke and what Ian has to say, and
Lydia,
doing it, and of
who's
course
awesome
Lydia's
at her
Yeah,
job,
of course. Yeah, thanks.
some of the best camera
Let's
switching I've
beat
ever seen.
CNN.
Thanks, man.
Let's beat CNN. Let's beat Fox News. Let's beat MSNBC. But they've got millions of dollars to throw into commercials, advertising, network buys,
Airport
premium
plays.
Yeah,
Let's
airport
prove
plays.
that you
Yup.
don't need money to run for office. Not saying I'm going to run for office.
I'll tell you
but
what we need a movement for better media. That's what we really need.
Yes.
We need people who's like if you're only going to do one kind of activism, it's I want good legit media. That's it. So it's not just about us and our podcasts, it's about other podcasts, other YouTubers as well.
Yeah, let's bring them along, man.
Let's read some more of these super chats. Sam Meehan says it's official. Luke has squatters' rights.
Yep.
So I seen a lot of comments talking about Luke is squatting. I am Slavic. I was born in Poland, so I am technically
good at
Polish
squatting,
squatting. Me and Tim still haven't figured out what we're doing here. This is kind of just happening through
Luke,
they
happenstance.
just don't
I
talk
literally
about it.
came over, 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, I'm only going to be here for a week. That was my
killing it.
plan. I was supposed to be in Florida. Again, I'm demonetized, and again, I'm thinking about doing survival trainings to make sure I have more income. But we still, I mean, the
I was
thing
like,
is,
you want to come on one show Friday? And you're like, sure.
no. First, I was like,
Wanna
no.
come on
I
one
was like,
show
I don't want
Monday?
to do this. And you're like, and you're like, come on, do it. It's fun. I'm like, and then like I did it once, and then the other time,
you're
the
hooked.
couple guests
No, I know what
canceled.
happened.
Couple guest cancels.
I know what happened.
What happened?
People started commenting about how much like Luke is great.
They sure
He was
did.
awesome.
I
And
gotta
then-
say, I'm trying to make sure the
was you
comments don't go to
guys.
my head, but the commenter. I mean, I'm even getting like $2 like Cash Apps and Venmos from people.
That's
I don't know if
awesome.
you want.
Good.
I don't know if people want to be shouted out here, but my Venmo and Cash App is Luke We Are Change, just for maybe a happenstance. I don't know. I'm just
Support
mentioning it.
independent
But-
media.
But the support and especially getting the T-shirts out has helped me out tremendously. But also, most importantly, we have to understand we're living through one of the most important times in American history. It is more crucial than ever to share legitimate, real information with people because that is essential right now, and this is an opportunity to reach people. And as you can see, I've been taking it seriously. I'm doing a lot of research. I've been studying. I've been making sure everything I say is correct. Sometimes I make some mistakes, but this is crucial what we're doing right now, and I think it's working, and a lot of people are happy, and it's kind of fun debating and arguing with a lot of people here on the show
but
as well.
we have an important super chat in that, for you, Luke. Demon King Lamb says installing a Picatinny rail mount onto an M1A is very easy, so easy a FUD like Luke can do it.
All right.
Well, apparently not. He couldn't do it.
We're
Along
going to
with-
be figuring that out after the show. I was too busy doing research, but it seems like a complicated process. I will get
There's
to
a
it.
little thing with like step 1, step 2,
Do you
step
wanna
3,
do it,
step
Tim?
4. Now, I'm not the one who's claiming to be, the gun guy. Luke
I'm not claiming to be
telling
no
me
gun
my
guy.
I'm getting a
M1A
video of
was,
it,
was,
whoever
was
does it.
unrealistic.
Well, there's more practice.
I'm going to record you.
I went in
But-
and they had like 2 guns.
But as you could see, Tim is trying to fatten me up. First of all, he's providing a lot of steaks. He's
true.
providing a
Yeah,
lot of.
we had Flamin' Young.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, all right. So he's literally trying to fatten me up, so I stay here. It might
Stay
work.
warm.
It might not. We don't know what we're doing yet.
You know-
but I think so far, I don't know. You guys are giving me a lot of good feedback. I think it's a crucial time. I think it's working out pretty good.
Keep making comments about how you love Luke because I want to keep him around. Along with what you were saying about sharing and how cool and how independent, I keep thinking about like it's so easy to click that button, like the share button. I'm like, oh, an article I like. I'll just click the button, but it has such a resounding impact. So it's so easy to do, but it's not like equal reward. It's a greater reward than the amount of energy that
the
goes.
likes. So one of the things that makes sure a channel grows when you hit the like button, it really does result in YouTube being like recommend it. So I think we need to get like a little graphic that like pops up and says like smash that like button or something.
Or like,
I gotta.
into
There's a facetious one that
Smash.
you're
I gotta read
go.
this.
Just go. I know. Go.
What?
Go ahead. I know. It's gonna be something. I already know what it. Just go.
No, you don't.
Just go.
Small SC says, Jesus, Tim, an M1A is not a home defense rifle. Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It's
like a turret.
home defense rifle.
For what reason? Why would anyone have an M1A other than to defend their home?
A broom.
What?
Hunting?
Hunting?
Am I wrong?
Is it a hunting rifle?
It's a long distance, old school kind of rifle that
Like an antique?
again,
All
it's
I
not
know
really
is,
that
listen,
practical.
I went into the gun store and I said, I want to defend my home. And he said,
Take
do you have a
this.
reason to do you have a reason to be worried about intruders that are 500 yards away? And I said, my property is very large, sir. And he says, maybe you might have some wild animals. You need some.
I know just what you need.
Yeah. And Dan Orlowski says, Tim, you have to use special ammo with your M1. Standard 30-06 ammo has too much pressure; it can damage your rifle. So I was given 308 by the by the man at the store, and I was told online and by you 7.62 by 51 could work
Yep.
for it as well.
Yeah. Well, there's special grains, and I haven't looked at the
So
specifications
wait,
for the
what,
M1.
is it? Why have an M1A? All I know is in the division, my guy had it, and I went to the store and they had no rifles. I was like, I'll take that one. It was that and like a 22.
We should mount it over the fireplace.
Both very unpractical. What you're doing, if you're looking for target practice and if
Defending
you're looking
my
to get
home.
good with iron sights, yes, especially if you're doing medium to long range, you could definitely practice with those. But essentially, there's a lot more practical firearms that you could use to protect your
This I
household.
completely understand, and they had very few weapons at the
I
store.
understand. It's fine.
So I went in and I was like,
I'm just busting your balls.
you know what it was really? It was about ammo too.
Yeah.
It was about what kind of ammo
Yeah.
they had left. And
308 is somewhat available, which is surprising from what I've seen in
And
West
7.62
Virginia
apparently.
and New Hampshire. 7.62 as well. 5.56 at a very big premium, but a lot of other ammo. I mean, even 5.56 is hard to come by. If you do, you're very lucky.
This is really funny. I love this conversation. The Buzz CJC says, ironically, while the AR-15 is not a weapon of war and is not fielded by any military, the M1A is technically a weapon of war or assault weapon.
Yeah,
it was World War I and II? Or?
yeah, World War II.
The M1 Garand. The A
Yeah.
is a civilian version of the M14, a civilian
Right.
version. So
Yeah.
it's not military, apparently.
So what's it for, like long range hunting?
Well, like medium, long range.
Hunting?
Yeah.
They're heavy, right? They're really
It's
heavy.
heavy. I wouldn't say really heavy because I wouldn't know.
They were, I think
But
they were
relatively.
better in the mud than the M16. The M16 would jam up, but they were so much
You know
lighter
what
that
I
they
want?
didn't care in Vietnam. So they
I
carried
want
the
a Smith
M16.
& Wesson 500. Have you seen those?
Well, yes, of course I've seen
It's a
those.
clown
There's a
gun.
lot of firearms, but there's a lot
It's like
of them
the-
that
you
are not available. As
Remember,
you said.
remember the Joker and the Batman from the 90s movie where he pulls the revolver out and
Yeah,
the barrel's like 4 feet long?
That'd
That's
be
what I'm talking
cool.
about. All right, let's see. What's this. Lazy Murder Hobo says, look up the ATF letter on pistol braces. ATF is trying to push the goalposts by changing definitions and ban one of the most common firearm types. What's that?
Yeah, it's absolutely insane that you could have something that looks like a rifle, but it's classified as a pistol because of the back end of it.
Yep.
And it's just utterly ridiculous to see the ATF go after particular companies. The Honey Badger was also one particular gun and model that was also just officially taken down by the ATF, and they're looking at making sure that these kind of smaller barrel rifles, which they're classifying as pistols, that they're going to be deemed illegal. So overnight, there's a proposal by the ATF that would literally make millions of Americans felons overnight automatically because of these mid-range rifles, which they're calling pistols for some reasons. The definitions are absolutely backwards, which just shows you how idiotic government is.
We got Mike here. Mike here with the super chat. He knows what's up. He said M1A is a home defense weapon if you defend your home with it.
That's what I
Oh,
said.
good
These
point.
categories we apply to weapons are rhetorical and stupid, e.g. weapon of war.
Yep.
Thank you, Mike.
There
That's
you go.
exactly
Well,
it.
to me, it's more
What
of
if-
like,
what
what's
if-
practical?
What if way down, a couple hundred
Down the
yards
end of the
away,
driveway, yeah.
I see some like super
Rhinoceros.
ripped 6'5" with Antifa guy, and he's got like ripped sleeves, and he's just
Super soldier.
hulking up the driveway, and he's waving
He's
a
gonna-
sign
you need-
saying,
he's
"I'm
gonna take, like,
literally
6
coming."
shots, though.
And he's holding a sign that says, "I'm going to kill all of you once I get up." What am I gonna do?
Could
I
you,
need
could
something
you
that-
use your iron sights to track him down and get one
I'm
downrange?
kidding.
Oh, I don't know.
Does it have a clip, or is it just a single shot?
It's a magazine.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow, clips. They used to have clips. That's crazy. You'd like clip the bullets in and just like, that's funny. They did have antiques though. They had muskets at the store. It was really cool.
I'm
What's the
surprised you
difference?
didn't get that.
The musket.
Yeah.
So
you might as well.
They didn't have powder wadding and balls. So it's
a
like
clip and a magazine are different. I'm
Yeah, they're
learning.
different.
Okay,
Yeah.
how are they different?
a clip is literally a clip that you clip the bullets to and then put it in.
wow.
And a magazine is spring loaded and you
Oh,
push the
cool.
bullets down. Yeah. I kept saying
Okay.
clip before, and people
So
kept
thanks.
yelling at me in the super chat.
Okay.
They're like, "Stop saying clip, Tim.
Thanks,
It's a
guys.
magazine." And I'm like, "Okay,
All right.
We got a bunch of
It's a
airsoft
sheriff.
too. We got a bunch of airsoft
Yeah,
too.
the airsoft's going to be really
So
fun
much
to train
fun.
with. Yeah.
Yeah,
I really
yeah.
want to. I want to get paintball. If we can find
1911
bioorganic, like
Yeah.
paintball airsoft pellets that'll degrade into the dirt.
Well,
if we
a
could
lot
just
of the
shoot each other
airsoft are
paintballs.
replicas of actual existing firearms that you could train with and not get the exact training as with a real firearm, but especially if you're a newbie, I strongly recommend you do that rather than shooting your balls off.
So I was thinking of
Yeah.
us in the woods hunting each other with like, would we wear protective goggles?
We do have
and then
night
just,
vision.
It's called playing airsoft.
And we would just shoot at each other and be like, "Ow!"
Totally airsoft.
Well, we have
Yeah.
armor, so I bought standard
Paintball.
armor.
But if you
Yeah.
get it like right here, is
No,
that a
we have,
problem?
we have
Full
masks,
mask?
too.
Dude, I'm so in. That's gonna be
airsoft is a sport.
Can
you
we use
play.
flashlights to blind each other?
I don't know. I've never.
That'll be fun.
You know,
Just
played
play
airsoft.
during
I was
We
looking at
do
this.
a tactical drill game
They have all sorts of
this weekend if you guys want, and we could do a
Yeah, dude.
5v5 kind of game.
we're
and
equipped
then
for it.
We could set up some rules,
Set up
and
some
I'll
cameras.
teach you some basic
Yeah, we'll
CQB.
wear GoPros on our foreheads or something.
And then what we'll do is our team will kidnap Luke and we'll put him like with like a low light, like a light hanging from the ceiling, a lamp, so he can only see like our waists, and then we'll have
And
like
there'll be like a
Russian
buzz
accents.
saw that's coming down
We'll,
slowly.
we'll grab him by the back of the head and slam his head to the table and be like, "Where is your team at?"
Dude, I was
Like,
looking
I'll
at this.
never tell.
This Russian laser tag tactical company that makes all this cool laser tag equipment, like flags and med kits and stuff.
cool.
Obviously,
Laser tag?
the laser. Some of that stuff wouldn't work with airsoft,
know,
but we
sure.
could have like certain things that like flags. We should do like capture the flag.
Yeah.
Daniel Maxwell says, conspiracy theory. Ooh, spicy. The Galactic Federation wants Joe Biden to be president so they can bring Earth into the Galactic Federation since they're democratic socialists with an authoritarian government. If you laugh, you owe me an appearance on the show. Joking. I don't think I laughed enough. Sorry.
But Luke and Lydia did, but I didn't.
There you go.
Yeah. There you go.
Do you think because the Earthens got inducted into the Galactic Federation in Star Trek? They didn't start it, so it's already out there. And then they eventually they hit warp drive,
There's
right? And that was
allegedly
when.
some kind of contract out there between aliens and us, according to some government
I don't think I ever
officials.
told you my story about when I sensed the Wolf Man across the universe. I was meditating on my roof and just let my electromagnetic field down and gazed out into the star system to see what was out there. And something sensed me. It was this wolf creature that had taken mushrooms and like evolved as we had from apes, but it was a wolf creature that had evolved, and it sensed me and wanted to eat me.
Bro, he's on a podcast right now going, "I never told you about that monkey guy. I swear I was taking mushrooms and this monkey guy, like, he evolved like we did, but he was a monkey and
wanna
he
eat
comes
him.
to me. I want to eat him." All right, let's see. We got Caesar Chamorro says, Tim, Luke, hypocrites rag on cops being bootlickers for earning a living while being lickers themselves. Bad YouTube is but bend the knee for the sweet YouTube dollars. Well, I will say that we are heavily criticizing and calling out YouTube for all of this right now and talking about leaving the platform and starting something proprietary. Not leaving the platform, but taking a portion of the business off of the platform because of how bad it is. The difference is I'm actually helping people know about what's going on to the best of my abilities. And the police that I'm criticizing are not all cops. It's the cops who are destroying the lives of people because the governor decided on a whim to do something without any legal authority. Big difference.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think there's a bit of a difference between just talking and looking at information and ruining people's lives.
Yes.
Listen, the cops aren't just making a living. They're violating the Constitution and they're enforcing edict, not laws. No legislature or council passed these rulings and the Supreme Court ruled against them. And cops are still showing up saying, I don't care. I want that money more.
And they're using violent force and coercion with the threat of violence.
And they're being coerced to do it with their paycheck.
Partly, yes. Yep. But at a certain point, you have to say no. So us being on this platform is actually kind of the opposite. Imagine if one of the cops in the department kept stopping them from doing these things. And every time they went out, that cop would be like, yo, we're not letting you you're not doing this. Guy, you can run your business.
Yeah.
That's the difference between us and say Jimmy Kimmel on YouTube.
And also
CNN.
There's accountability. So if I was saying something that was baldly face, you guys would correct me on it. If Tim was saying something that was incorrect, I would challenge him on that stance. So having the free flow of a conversation and ideas is a lot different than using force.
You want to know something crazy?
Yeah.
The reason why the Weimar Republic had hyperinflation is rooted in the strategies of France and Germany in World War I. France's strategy for paying the war was income tax. They said, we're going to get enough money to pay for this by taxing the citizens. Germany said, let's borrow money because once we win, we can steal everything from the countries and loot their countries.
That's a gamble.
They thought they were going to win and then take everything of value from the other countries and pay off their debts. It was basically like, give us the money to fund this war because when we win, you're going to get paid back. But they lost and they couldn't pay it back. And so they started just printing money like crazy. But I bring that up because Blinken says, for Ian, the income tax was introduced solely to pay the interest on the debt to the Federal Reserve. Why both were enacted in 1913, they were done in tandem for a reason.
The income tax came in April, and then the Federal Reserve was formed in December of 13. But I imagine they were calculated around for the same reason. But there was also an income tax for the Civil War in 1861. Abe Lincoln instituted one to pay for the war. So it's not.
Pay for it somehow.
Yeah, it wasn't the first time that we came up with it. I don't think we really need it. Do you guys think we need income tax right now?
Nope.
It depends. I don't know, man. I think it's kind of a moot point right now because of I was thinking about this when we were doing a couple shows, and I'm just like, I don't care about the anti-autonomous zones anymore. I used to look at what was going on in this country as our country, and then I realized when I saw the autonomous zone, I was like, I don't care. And then I thought about why is it that I don't care anymore? Oh, because I don't view Portland as the same place as where I am now. I don't think that we have anything in common for the most part, so they can do their thing. Why would I complain? They voted for it. They want it. Just don't mess with me, I guess.
I'm kind of like, I've been teasing the idea of defaulting on the Federal Reserve interest, not necessarily the entire debt to the thing, but just the interest itself. And maybe the income tax is used to pay for the interest. So if we got rid of income tax, we could just stop paying interest on our loans.
We got a super chat here. It's a big one from Empereb. He says, I want answered 2 things, Tim. Will you ever have Nick Fuentes on your show? Yes or no? And why did Lisa block him? I don't know who Lisa is.
Lisa.
And the answer is, yes, I will. The problem is this is the only person where people are nonstop emailing, messaging. And I will tell you what I absolutely won't do. I will not invite someone on the show because people keep messaging me demanding that I do it.
You will not bend the knee.
It's not about bending the knee. It's about, I really don't want people making a habit of just flooding our comments with names.
Oh, Peter Schiff. That's another one.
People recommend him.
Yeah,
but
he's an economist. Yeah. I think he could help us talk about the Federal Reserve.
That would be hilarious right now to have him on, especially with the Bitcoin.
Him and Max Kaiser together.
So I'll tell you this.
Debate before.
I want to point something out. Empreb gave a $150 super chat to ask this question. Thank you very much for that super chat. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
But you have to understand, someone giving that amount of money to get a comment read, again, asking the same thing we get asked probably like 50 times every single day. Every day
Yuri
I see,
Bezman, have you heard of Yuri Bezman?
every time I see the comments, I'm just like, I don't know when we're gonna be able to book this guy. I just really don't. Because we had one moment where when he showed up in DC, when he gave Nick Fuentes gave his speech where he said sacrifice the Senate, I was like, oh, we got to talk to this guy. And then we have the show, and it's just we get spammed, and I'm like, I can't.
I guess we should have him on.
No, I can't book him if people are spamming.
The collective
us.
consciousness
Not
is
gonna
telling
happen.
us,
No,
do it.
not my collective conscious.
No,
I'm
but
not booking
that's
anybody
why it's
based on getting
happening.
spammed.
Because if he came on, it would just be like another anticlimactic, awesome show.
I think if we book people who we get people flooding the comments and sending in massive super chats demanding we do it, I'm not setting that precedent. So it's no disrespect to Nick. I actually have some good friends who want us to have this conversation, but I'm literally being put in this position where he's the only person where people are dumping money and
weird.
demanding it.
But for all we know, the guy that super chatted never heard
Hates
you
him.
say that before and didn't know it was a big deal. And
That's
he just
why I
really
read it.
cares. Yeah,
That's
really.
why I read it, and I'm going to say it again. But it's a difficult precedent. I've already got people finding my phone number and blowing my phone up for other
You should
people now.
get a new number.
Yep.
Joe gets one like every 2 weeks.
Yep.
That's smart.
That's right.
Super smart.
Some people are calling me, leaving me voicemails, and it's like I'm not playing
Yeah,
that
just get a
game.
new
I
one.
can't do it.
That-
And so I guess the challenge is nothing personal against Nick specifically. He's much higher profile. He's been. I've even read comments from him that appeared in news stories. But it's the smaller people that are spamming me like crazy, demanding it. I can't set that precedent.
What does Nick
It's
do?
our
I watched a little bit of his YouTube stuff.
commentator,
before.
America
he's
First commentator.
commentator.
Yeah. But that's I read comments all the time, and I say the same thing every time. Like, I have someone who keeps calling me. I had to block probably like 10 numbers already.
Ugh.
People demanding to come on the show.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
So
no.
right, never gonna happen. The one way to make sure we never book you is to call my phone somehow, find the number.
I remember a couple months ago, I had someone show up to my house and literally be like, "Hey, can I be on your YouTube channel?" I'm like, "How
no.
did you get my freaking house address?"
What are
Like,
you doing here?
I'm like, yeah, that was pretty
That's
uncomfortable.
not cool.
So I'll mention specifically too. My understanding of Nick Fuentes is that he got banned from I think it was from YouTube, right?
I think so, yeah.
Because they were taking clips out of context.
Oh,
and
he's
accusing
off
him.
YouTube right now?
I guess he was reading super chats, and they claimed it was his statement.
They got him to say, my Mike Roch.
No,
This is a
he
super
read
chat from
something,
Mike
and it was used as a
Roch.
viral thing to get him banned.
Oh.
And so there's a lot of interesting things that I think we could talk about, but it's I guess I can't do it if people keep spamming us. If we get inundated with nonstop comments.
But it's nice that you
demanding
read
we do
that
it.
guy's super chat.
I'll
'cause that was a
definitely
big
read
chat.
it because
that.
look, it's not an issue of me avoiding comments from people. I'm not going to ignore people bringing it up, but I just want to let you know, like, it's bad enough I get people who are like random people calling my phone, saying like, I have nothing to do with anything. I just I live somewhere and I want to be on the show, and I'm like, dude, I get it, I respect, I appreciate, but it's like there's security issues, a bunch of things. So anyway, that's the gist of it. I don't want to harp too long, but let's read some more. R. Bracewell says, I got banned on Facebook for drug related for screenshotting the PS5 queue and saying the page doesn't refresh for 2 hours.
What?
Flagged for calling someone lazy for not looking up info about what's happening in election. Crazy. Let's see. Matt Wesley says, Tim, I have never heard you mention where you are located. I understand not giving out your exact location for safety, but would you ever be interested in a meet and greet for local fans? We're going to do semi-private, semi-public kind of events, but it was Alex Jones who came on the show and looked me in the eyes and laughed in my face and said, Missouri, huh? And I was like, uh-huh.
Yep. Uh-huh.
And then he kept doing it because he thought it was funny. He was going like, I'll do it for the camera. He was like, Missouri, right? And I'm like, I get it, Alex. You're telling people where I am. I thought he was waiting for me to laugh and be like, oh, you got me.
Rude.
We're in the woods.
We're in the woods in the middle
Missouri,
of nowhere.
apparently.
We're going to do events. And I'll also let you guys know, we're not in Missouri. That was like the joke.
I have
Okay?
the documents.
We're not in Missouri. Let's see. XD Interactive says $85,000 per person in the U.S. to pay off the U.S. debt. Most of that debt is owed to the people of the U.S., though. That's true. A lot of people don't realize is the U.S. debt is like the government borrowing money to people. The issue, though, is the U.S. does have foreign debt. And also, if the U.S. can't pay those people back, then people lose confidence in the government, and then, lots of things happen. Let's see. James Passarelli says, if you do the math, you can paper mache the a habitable landmass of the Earth with dollar bills equal to the U.S. debt.
Whoa,
Wow.
Great.
Most of it's digital, though. Most of it's digital.
Yeah, it's just zeros on computers.
Yeah.
that's so weird.
Connor Murphy says, Luke, have you read Ian Smith's memoir, Bitter Harvest? It's about the fall of Rhodesia and the creation of Zimbabwe. The timelines are sadly similar.
I have not, but that sounds like a very interesting read. I did spend some time in Zimbabwe, and the history there is absolutely fascinating. I did look into a little bit about Rhodesia, but I'll definitely check out the book recommendation when I have more time.
What were you doing in Zimbabwe?
Well, we went in there to talk about the hyperinflation that happened there. And it was absolutely surreal to talk to individuals that were sharing their experiences of them being in grocery stores and things literally multiplying in prices right in front of them as their currency was hyperinflating. And I got chased away by a couple of police officers trying to detain me for filming one of their banks because there was another bank run there. I interviewed a couple Bitcoin entrepreneurs there that are trying to bring cryptocurrencies to Africa to bring more accountability. That was an interesting video that I produced there. And they had a new currency that was backed by the dollar, but it was already inflating to 8 times when I was there a couple of years ago.
Is that stuff on your YouTube channel?
Yep. All on We Are Change on YouTube.
Freddie says, M1A fires 308 and 762 NATO. Bought one for the same reason as you. The rounds will punch through multiple walls easy. Will penetrate body armor level 3A and under. Not a ton of people wear what stops 762.
Well,
I
yeah.
guess you get one good shot to the plate if you're wearing
It's
plate.
a very strong bullet, but you also have to worry about the bullet going through walls and hitting your neighbors or hitting other people that you live
an
with.
issue.
Home defense, that's why I always recommended a shotgun. I personally have a shotgun with double barrels that I could flip on easily. One is lethal, one is less lethal, one are rubber bullets, because even if I'm somewhere like in New Hampshire, if there's a bear, I don't want to kill a bear. I'm just going to use a rubber bullet in the butt.
Dave Chappelle broke it down for us. You got to put the birdshot, buckshot, buckshot. Because the first one is a warning. The first one peppers them up a little bit. But then the next one is the serious shot, right?
I have slugs and I have
Pepper
rubber
him
bullets.
up. Dave
But
Chappelle.
yeah, I have a firearm that I could switch easily and a double.
Yo
barrel
Daddy
system.
says, is Ian stoned?
Nope.
He's
Not
just like
today,
that all
my
the time.
man.
Today.
He rolls.
I did smoke weed for about 14 years, though, and I think maybe it still is in my fat cells.
Probably.
Matthew Recamp says, Repubs are control of one state legislator away from being able to use Article 5 Convention of States to pass constitutional amendments without Democrat support. If you could make any proposal at the convention, what would it be? Oh, man. A constitutional convention for an amendment with 2/3 of the states. Really? Is that Article 5? They need one more? 30 states? Is that all they need?
I'm not
What's
sure.
a constitutional amendment we need?
Repeal the Federal Reserve Act?
Well, that's bold. Get rid of the slavery if you're in prison thing. So the 13th abolishes slavery unless you've been convicted of a crime. So how about no matter what, if you're convicted of a crime, you can't be used for cheap labor like Kamala Harris would like to. You know what I mean?
Or just the decentralization of the federal government, so states have the rights to choose what they want to do themselves without the federal government intervening.
There's a fine line though. You
Of
know?
court, but I think
right, yeah.
decentralization is the way to go.
I got it. What if we added? I think I have a proposal for probably two. If we had a constitutional convention, if the Republicans get one more, I have 2 serious proposals. The first is that the right to freedom of speech shall not be infringed by the government, and the second should be that the people of this country have a right to keep and bear arms. That needs to be added because apparently just one of each isn't enough.
Okay,
Yep,
that's a good start.
that's a great idea there. I like that idea a
That
lot.
can be our first and second one.
No, it would be what are we on? 27? 27 amendments? Is that how many we have?
I'm not sure.
I'm saying we need it written twice. So
Okay.
you can
Yeah,
be
yeah.
like, just so you get it. I wasn't this big on 2A a couple years ago, but I'll tell you, when you watch the insanity and the chaos over this past year, I'm basically like, yeah, universal gun,
Dude,
whatever.
if we lose our free speech, we're led like lambs, dumb
Dave Chappelle
to
said
the
it, man.
slaughter. That
Look,
George Washington said
Well,
it.
if
no,
you
no,
look at
listen.
yeah.
Dave Chappelle is not a conservative, but when he said the Second Amendment is just in case the first one doesn't work out, I was like, man, that's Dave Chappelle.
Historically, when you look at gun control, what happens afterwards? Total totalitarian government to take
Yep.
over. History doesn't lie; it keeps repeating.
And you know what the left is wrong about every step of the way? 2 big things. They say, what are you going to do? Rise up against the government? First of all, no. The idea isn't that people go out and start fighting the government. The idea is the government doesn't even try. The government knows.
It's a
but more
deterrent.
The next thing I love so much is when they say the founding fathers didn't intend for you to have a semi-automatic, 60 mag rifle or whatever. I'm like, bro, they had their own warships with cannons. They had 60 cannons on a man of war, and it would go boom, 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 and it would blow up whole towns. Private individuals owned these things, and they were like, yep.
Like you don't want. They wouldn't have wanted us to have like portable nuclear bombs.
I don't think they were differentiating between weapons at all.
You could have like explosives.
You could have artillery on your property.
Like now, there's little things that can blow up entire city blocks. Like one guy can walk in with a crazy bomb
at
and,
the
blow
time.
up a city.
At the time, you on your property could have cannons all over the place. That was military.
They didn't have nuclear weapons at the time, so nuclear weapons is another realm of explosive.
Maybe there are certain questions that need to be asked about the advancement of technology as it pertains to what the founding fathers could not have seen. Like, should everybody have a nuclear weapon in their house? Yeah, probably a bad idea. Yeah,
because if someone falls down and accidentally sets it off, that could be a
nuke
problem.
could wipe out the eastern, some big eastern city. So it's tough. Let's see. Daniel Maxwell says, glad you guys were able to get some laughs from that. Some humor is needed to reduce the stress from dealing with MSMBS. That's right. Absolutely.
Laughs from...
I don't know.
That was Daniel. He made the joke before.
Yeah.
Zach Summer says, Tim, the ATF just raided the offices of Polymer 80. They took the sales records, and as of yesterday, Tim of the Military Arms channel on YouTube said he has sources. They're going door to door confiscating all firearms if they find out you have one. Wait. If you have what?
That's insanity.
Well, the specific regulation that the ATF is trying to pass is they're trying to ban pistol braces and short barrel kind of rifles, which they personally classified as pistols, incorrectly, obviously. So I haven't heard of that particular story. I mean, obviously we're going to look into it, but I don't think it got that severe yet. We just hear some of the protocols. But even with the bump stock law, I mean, that was another big egregious move by the federal government that turned innocent Americans into felons overnight. And we didn't see government going house to house with that incident. So I don't see them doing it with this one either yet. But who knows in 2020, especially under a Biden presidency.
Derek says judge or governor for home defense. The governor.
I don't like both of them either.
Basically the same thing for the most part.
Yeah.
Oh, the judge is the really long barrel one?
No. They're both essentially the same, but they're the revolvers that can take 45 long ACP and a 410 shotgun.
Yes, I fired one.
Luke's
of
got a
those.
video from the range where he fires. You can hear me laughing.
Yes, there's a big laughter in the background. That thing's hard to fire, but it was fun.
I had the
when we went to the range, and I told the guy, I was like, I want to fire a 410 shotgun. I was like, you got the governor? And he goes, I do, but we don't get any bullets for it. And I was like, you have 410, right? And he goes, you want to fire the 410 out of the governor? And I was like, why should I not do it? All right. And I was like, come on. What are you trying to do? You trying to freak me? It wasn't
It's not that bad.
No, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Super fun.
We all ended up
I
firing
hit the
it.
target dead center with it.
Yeah, you got a huge
I have the
chunk
target. I'll take a
straight
picture
through.
of it.
That
I'll
was
put it on
crazy.
Instagram. That's
That's
a good idea.
awesome.
Everybody fired, and it's like, so it's the 410's got 4 buckshot. The ones I think we were using 4 buckshot 410.
I think so, yeah.
And so it was spraying, right? But Ian took a shot that did a big hole right through the center of the
I
target.
didn't have my glasses on. It was just like Luke, the Death Star. Computer off.
Computer off. Yeah. Oh, here we go. What is this? Chad Conego says, skip the S&W Smith & Wesson 500. Get a BFR revolver from Magnum Research. The same people that brought you the Desert Eagle pistol. I was half kidding. It's just a ridiculous gun. It's massive. It's like the Joker, and he pulls out that giant revolver. That was hilarious.
I am not a fan of revolvers, to be honest, but yeah.
Chameleon DX says, I own a 4-inch Smith & Wesson 500, and it's fantastic. You'll love it. Once we get this big open, so you know what's interesting? I actually looked up property in Wyoming. The prices are comparable to West Virginia.
People are telling me Wyoming.
It's good, big, and empty, but the prices are comparable. So it's like if at least in West Virginia, you can drive west or east and find a big city. Maybe you don't want that. Maybe you want to be in, Wyoming.
Maybe, I don't know. The corporation laws in Wyoming are incredible. That's like the forefront
they do
of
Bitcoin
crypto.
out of there, yeah. because of that, right?
But you don't need to live there. They can set you up with an address there, and then you can run your corporation from other places.
Dubber says, really have gotten obsessed with the show lately. Love the addition of Luke. Thank you for all you guys do. Heart, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
see, originally it was like, I think someone canceled, and we
Yeah.
were like, yo, Luke, we need you to come
Step
on.
in last
Here.
minute. Yeah.
And you were like, I don't know, man. I was like,
I'm not
just-
prepared or whatever. No. The first time someone didn't come, I'm like, fine, I'll do it. And then it happened I think one more time. And then there was a chance of co-hosting. And I was like, no. You're like, do it. No. And then
we
you
had one
said
without
no.
you.
And then you said no. I'm like, fine. And then last minute, you're like, okay, come back in again. And I'm like, fine, whatever. I came back in. And then another
Well,
time you said no.
Because you know what we were doing? We were actually at a point where we were just going to do guests.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have a guest, we wouldn't do a show.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I was like, but then Luke was here, and I was like, well,
Yeah.
just do the show with Luke, I guess, you know?
That's
Well, there's always a lot to talk about.
I know, dude.
Surprisingly.
I feel like we only get into like 1/10 of 1% of what we have to.
Yeah.
Look at this. Water Dancer says the M1A is effective up to 500 meters with irons, according to Jet Carr. But if you're good, right?
You have to be good at
Yeah,
iron
but
sights
that's
to make sure that happens.
So
I
give
mean,
that
you're
guy a
shooting-
scope.
Yeah, you're shooting a 308, so yeah.
Or a 7.62. All right, let's scroll down, see what he got. Neon Extasia says the show became perfect with Luke. He's essential. See, I'm reading these because now Luke can't leave. He's got to stay in the.
Luke has the data. Luke's
I'm
got
a
the
wildflower.
old school.
What?
I'm a wildflower. I like to.
You've got the
spring
info,
and
man, from like
blossom and move.
2006, like the deep stuff.
I've been doing this for way too long.
Yeah,
Man.
man, we need to reveal.
Well, thank you so much.
Integrity Media says, please search 2020 police quitting. This is another point I want to make sure I bring up when I talk about these bad cops. Someone brought up a really good point the other day. I don't think we read the super chat, but they said it's no one. Like, don't you realize the reason the bad cops are in New York? They're doing this. It's because the good cops all quit. No,
That makes
that's
sense.
There's a lot of
actually-
cops walking
makes
out.
sense.
There's a lot
And
of
so
cops quitting.
the cops who are staying are the scabs, basically.
Oh, that's
the ones
awful.
who are like they're watching all the bad stuff happening. Like, I'm not doing this, man. And then the scabs are like, I don't care. I'll trample over someone's rights if I get paid. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, that's a problem.
Yeah. Oh, we just got to jump. Let's see. What is this? Bass player 2011 Iffy says M14 was used in Korea in the start of Vietnam. It's still used today as a designated marksman rifle and a mid-range sniper rifle in the military. Oh, that's cool. Luke told me to order this like crazy scope system. Like the scope is a camera.
Well, if you're gonna
basically-
it's the best for the particular situation that we're in right now,
Oh, yeah?
especially with the rangefinder, and especially as a cool toy to play with and to figure out as well.
can it
That's
take
been pretty
video?
Awesome. It can take video.
Oh,
as
that's
well.
awesome.
Dude, this is crazy. Sam Finley says Polymer 80 buy and build kits are under scrutiny big time. They've been going to homes of customers.
That's what the other person said. We
Wow,
looked that up.
dude. Well, so someone comments. Non-Servia Mar says the story about agents raiding homes is not totally true. They are seizing weapon kits for unserialized guns that can be put together and be fully functional in 20 minutes. Whoa, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Well, in the United States, you can make your own firearm, but you are supposed to put a serial number on it and then call the government and notify them that you do have this. So that's specifically the law, depending on also your state and the jurisdiction that you're in.
That's just on the lower receiver.
That's on a functioning firearm, yeah.
The Kraken says, I hate listening to people that know nothing about guns try to explain something about guns. I wish they would ask someone that knows first.
That's what I do.
I mean, I straight up don't know anything about guns. I say it all the time.
that's why Luke's
I
here.
was like, no guns, and I went and bought a bunch of guns.
Yeah, I'm learning about it, and there's no one that's
It's
perfect.
like,
And
or would you consider yourself an expert?
I don't consider myself an expert in
So
anything.
novice,
I'm
amateur.
always learning, and I'm always
journeyman, novice,
Look at this.
amateur. Is that what it is?
Shooter says, please stop repeating tired FUD lines about like Elmer Fudd, about shotguns being best home defense. Please do actual research on firearms and all related fields and talk to actual professionals in the firearm and self-defense industry. Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah. Always seek professional assistance. Don't base off your decisions off of a podcast that you randomly heard as this
From a
as
dude
this
who
game.
literally just bought guns for the first time this year.
Yeah.
And has plastic doll arms.
Yes.
Well,
That's
the plastic doll arms are
That's a
good
little
for
different.
training
Okay,
as well.
I don't want to dog the plastic.
Michael Hun says Luke is a DLC to Timcast. That's
DLC?
right.
What's a DLC?
Downloadable content.
Yeah.
It's like an expansion.
Like when you get a video game, you get expansion pack.
Spend $7.99.
Daniel
get
Smith
the
says,
Luke.
Tim, just break down and buy a tank. You can get one for about $40,000. You can't have a functional main gun, but just replace it with a flamethrower. I've seen people do that.
I have a flamethrower.
But what if you replace the main gun with like it's not. It's more cosmetic, and you actually have just like a smaller caliber gun. You know what I mean?
Well, you just have that on you anyway.
Bo Darville says Mossberg Shockwave 12 gauge. Yeah, very nice.
Well, especially if you have a lot of people around you and a lot of people living in one space, I think shotguns are definitely the most appropriate for home defense. Depending on the circumstance, depending on the situation, depending on the person who can handle it. There's so many different variables, but for this one, for personally our ones that I kind of examined here, I thought that was the best
Why
one.
is that?
Well, you want to make sure that you don't accidentally hurt someone. You want to make sure that you could also have something that's, has a big shot that actually stops whatever threat you have coming at you. And you could use a different number of calibers and a different number of bullets that do a lot of different things.
I personally know how to make an active denial system using a magnetron, because I've built some crazy stuff with my friends back in the day. You want to talk about home defense? Imagine having a 2x4 with a magnetron on it and a can of soup to direct the beam, and a guy breaks in and he's like, "What's that?" Ah! And then he goes running screaming because he feels like he's on fire.
We probably could make a Home Alone version self-defense training
You
video.
ever see these
that I think
videos?
would be interesting.
Where people take the magnetron from a microwave and they direct it, and you can like point it at like halogen lights and
I
they
have
light
not.
up.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's actually not that complicated to build. So I used to hang out with all the hackers that did crazy stuff. I made a remote control can of green tea once.
How's that work?
So it was, we vibrated the can so that I guess the way they described it is the vibrations cause the friction between the can and the table to become essentially zero. And then what generated the friction was a wheel on the front that spun, that was slightly off center, that created a weight and a vibration. So the can would be weighted forward while vibrating, so you could control it forward. And then in the back of it was a gyroscopic stabilizer of some plastic 3D printed heart that would spin and allow you to, if you reduced the spin of the front weight, it would start spinning in circles.
Cool.
And then if you sped it up, it would start going straight again. So you could only go. It was a
Always
can of
curving.
green tea that you could remote control across the table.
Wow.
Would you fill it with water and send it over to your friend?
No, he just drove it around because it was hilarious. Because we used weird principles to make something that could move that shouldn't be able to move.
Interesting.
And it was really just me screwing around. Like, we didn't plan it. I was like, I'm going to make a can. I was like, I duct taped the motors to it, and I was like, oh, look what it's doing. Let's do this. And we just built
And it's
it.
always moving it in curve.
No.
You're just directing the curve to make it look straight.
It'll if you go about half power, there's a front motor that'll spin, and then the whole can will start spinning in circles. And then if you go full power, it'll go straight.
But
then you release
still,
it, it'll spin.
When it goes straight, it's still moving at a curve that's mitigated, was my point.
It's moving.
The
it moves
entire
straight.
universe is a curve. There's no such thing as a straight line.
Sure. Right.
That's the
But you
physics
put it on
of
the
it.
table and you want it to go straight, you can make it go straight, or you
Yeah.
can make it stop and spin and then change
It's
directions.
like two curves canceling each other
Yeah,
out.
it's crazy. Let's see. What do we got? Wasn't there one big super chat I think I just had here? Yes. Zach Summers says, sorry, but incorrect. You only have to serialize a firearm if you plan to sell or if it's an NFA item. I am not an expert, but I have studied firearm law for 6 years.
What's NFA?
Interesting. Was it National Firearms Act? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Yes.
Let's see. Lee Questenberry says, Tim, I have the ATN scope that's night vision and records in 4K. Federally, you don't have to register a homemade firearm as long as it's no NFA item. Interesting. I've seen a bunch of crazy videos of people who have made their own weapons. I don't want to talk about exactly what they are, but there's really simple mechanisms for making homemade weapons.
Yeah, you
Kinda
told me
crazy.
once about a dude that went into an airport and made a bomb with all the stuff in the airport.
Easy.
That's
Easy.
crazy.
And I did a video for Vice. We saw the guy. It went viral. So we met up with him in North Carolina, and the dude was a hacker, and he was like, there's things in airports, like he made a grenade. He made a legit firebomb that burst into flames and sprayed. I was like, wow, dude. It's so easy
Who's
to
that?
do.
Colin. There's this guy Colin. He's like a YouTube engineer. He makes like magnetic shoes where you can walk on the ceiling. And Colin's
I don't know about that.
He's
I
cool.
remember the video that you're talking about because this was right after the TSA started banning water bottles.
Yep.
And they started throwing everyone's water away.
The dude's name is Evan Booth. He's on Twitter. You can follow him. Check it out. This was a long time ago. It was like 8 years ago, or seven.
And he
7 years
proved
ago.
how security is just a big illusion.
But he didn't just make bombs. He made a crossbow.
Mm-hmm.
He made a
awesome.
crossbow. He's like, I'm gonna make a whole bunch of weapons that like only using things you can get in airports.
Was there
Inside,
dental floss
past
involved?
the security.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you go into you go into the airport, you go through security, you go to like a Hudson News, and you buy everything you need.
Yeah. And I guess I was wrong about you having to register your firearm if you only plan on selling it. I don't know exactly, but I'm gonna look into that more.
I'll let you in on the big secret. they sell Axe body spray in airports. So this video is all public, so I'll just give you the gist of it. But when lithium comes into contact with water, it bursts into flames.
Yes.
You know, not too much water, otherwise it'll just sizzle and dance around on the top of it.
Oh.
But if you get lithium, which is in batteries, and you can literally just crack them open and pull out a sheet of lithium, you put a little water on it, and it'll burst. Fire will come out. So he found a way to combine these things with thermoses, seal them, and then created a mechanism by which, on contact, water breaks.
Oh, so like pressurized lithium in the water, and it would cause explosions.
And it would cause the fuel cartridge was the X body spray. Yeah,
Wow.
I think isn't body spray, does it use like butane for, or does it not? I don't know.
I have no idea.
But it's all. I wouldn't normally explain how he did it because it's like I think it's a bad idea. But the videos are all publicly on YouTube, and there's more than one. And I think one of his videos got taken down when he explained how to do it because they were like, "You're showing people how to."
It's too much.
Yeah,
Too much knowledge.
But you know what's really funny? He made a club, and the club I think was just rolled up magazines. He took a bunch of rolled up magazines and then wrapped packing tape around it and was like
club.
smashing things with it.
It's the most basic weapon.
But it worked. It works.
club.
Yeah.
Anyone can use one in D&D.
Let's see. Oh, yeah. Rolly A. Murray says, home defense, get yourself a PSDFK BRNO 7.5. Also look at John Lovell and the Warrior Poet Society Network on how they created their own network. Interesting. Let's see. Justin Smith says, land, gold, Bitcoin, deposit on the new home purchase. Best use of nest egg before the Great Reset.
Land.
You know, it's really funny because Luke's got an RV. I just bought an RV. But people got to realize, man, like financing is everything. You know, most things financed. You can you don't got to spend a lot of money to get your piece of property.
Is that true? Because if the economy went nuclear, you know, times 1,000, would you still only have to pay off that what you
Yes.
had financed? Okay.
I mean, I don't see why that would be not the case.
Yeah.
So, like China does currency manipulation for this reason. They'll be like, hey, I'll lend you, you know, $100. And you're like, I know that with $100 I can buy a phone, right? Then they start manipulating their currency, so you can't buy a phone with $100 anymore. They double the price. Now, you know, I owe him less by manipulating the currency. So I'm just like, Luke was saying there's something where
I have to look into this because I mean, I would think they would put something in the contract that it's adjusted to inflation or some kind of clause.
That's
I
what
would
interest
think.
is. That's what
Yeah.
interest is.
Yeah, I mean,
so if you're locked in at an interest rate, then you're good. And so I'm like, bro, if you buy something right now, I don't know. I could be totally wrong about this. So
I don't want to be given advice like that.
I'm not giving
out
anybody
there.
advice, but I'm like, what would happen if you had like $50K in debt from buying something and then the economy tanked and now everyone's getting paid $1 million an hour at McDonald's? You'd pay
Yeah.
off the debt like that. It'd be worthless.
Yeah, they're talking about raising the minimum wage.
Yeah.
And if you're in Bitcoin and that goes up times 1,000, then you still only owe the same financed amount. I'm not an expert.
Luckycast IRL says, Luke is a must. What a serious asset to have on the squad. Always full of great info. His channel needs a boost. YouTube is after him. That's true. That's absolutely true.
They've been after me
That's
for
right.
a while.
I was
but,
thinking
yeah.
if this was a movie, like this life, it would be like when Luke's character got there is when it got really good. I was thinking about that the other
You
day.
guys are being too
It's
nice
like,
to
dude,
me.
he's like
This
he's
is
like,
a trap.
He has
I'm
guns
running
and-
away.
Dude, he knows he's like the weapons guy.
He's embarrassed.
Oh yeah.
Russell Stallman says, yo, Tim, I have a Picatinny scope mount for a M1A with your name on it. Hit me up. If you go to timcast.com/donate, there is a P.O. box. You can send whatever you'd like to if you want to send stuff to the show. Actually, I'll tell you this. If you guys are listening and you want to send Luke some stuff, make it funny. Make it as funny as you can.
I do have a P.O. box as well. If people
Send
want
them-
to send me
send-
stuff as well.
send them
on
weird
my,
stuff.
on wearechange.org/donate, I have my public P.O. box on there. So if you want to send me some weird stuff, I'm...
And they'll show it off. We'll show it off on the...
Yeah.
We're going to do a vlog. And when we do the vlog, we're going to do weird mail time. It's
Yeah, I
gonna be
mean,
fun.
That'll be
I'm
really
not.
fun.
I'm not afraid of the
He's not
weird
afraid of
stuff
weird
here.
stuff.
So you know, feel free to send whatever you
Dude,
guys want.
I think that guy made a good point that buying land is the key right now.
Yeah, well,
Land.
I'll tell you this right now. If the apocalypse happens and you own land,
Oh right, unless
you
you're
defend
on
it?
it. Yeah, exactly. Good
Yeah.
point.
can you defend it?
No,
Because you can
Well,
even be on
some
it.
of it.
And let's say you own 100 acres, right? And you're like, this is my land. The apocalypse happens. Some hippies are going to shout and be like, bro, you can't like own land, man. And you're going to be like, shh, the hell I can't. And he's going to go, shh, yeah? You want to talk about it?
And
That's
if you
why
hi-
we're working on a nice scope for the M1, just to
and it,
I don't
Just to
think,
have-
if you hire guards,
I just
they
wanna-
could just be like, it's our land now.
We're going to get this land. We're going to build dirt jumps. We're going to make a shooting range and stuff and have this like space where we can do fun
a
videos.
Hadron Collider.
Hacking, lasers, just like, you know, so we can do
airsoft
fun
games.
Right.
Laser
It's, you
tag
know,
arena.
Yeah, and build big dumb housing. like is it Kanye? doing
Kanye
that
West
now?
is going to help us build domes.
He's going to help us
Yeah,
build domes.
okay.
Sure. But isn't he doing that?
Yeah, he's building domes for the homeless right now.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yes.
He is on the pulse.
Bruce A. the second says, Tim Pool. Guys, we're wandering into dangerous territory. Also Tim Pool. Hey, guys, want to make bombs out of household items? It's easy. No. Absolutely
Disclaimer.
not. I'm saying that was a video I did like 7 years ago for
Cackles.
Vice.
Yeah.
But when we go out into the middle of nowhere, we're going to be doing a bunch of like special effects, hacking. I'm not, I got to be honest. I think bombs are like lowbrow. People
Yeah,
like
I'm
making
with you.
videos and they're like, so they had Mythbusters, right? And the Mythbusters episodes that did really well were the ones with explosions. So they made some like show that was just people making explosions. And I'm like, nah. You got to do something fun like lasers. Here's what I want to do. Can we make some kind of like flying device that can be powered by pointing a laser at it? Things like that.
Yeah, probably like a
Yeah.
super lightweight aluminum craft.
With some kind of, energy conversion of sorts.
Like
maybe
ionic lift or something.
photovoltaic or whatever.
I should get Jeremy Riss, the alien scientist, to help
We'll
us
do
build
a-
it.
we'll-
They're about to do like a 1,000,000 watt with some massive energy power source at their.
You know what I want to do? Remember in Super Mario Bros. The movie, they had those things they put on their legs that were like hydraulic and they could jump super high, and then when they landed, it compressed again. Will that blow your legs apart?
Maybe.
Yeah. Something.
on how they
I was
work.
reading something about a metal frame suit that you can get that allows you to lift things. There's like a video I watched where
DARPA has that. They're developing the super soldier.
but I'm not talking about
exoskeleton.
but not powered, like totally mechanical pulleys. Like
wow.
it springs in a metal frame, and you have hooks, and you hook it to something, and then it's like hydraulics. You can lift it really easily. There's a bunch of cool stuff we can do like that.
Oh yeah.
That being said, everybody, let's do one more we got here. The best one. Willie Billy the Hillbilly says you should have Colleen Noir on the show, a firearm and firearm law expert, or James from TFB TV, another gun expert. Yes, I'd love to have Colleen Noir. He's awesome.
Standing invite.
Yeah, standing invite. And I think it's just an issue of travel and COVID for most people, so we'll see. But I look forward to having, what is this? T-Pain says, Tim, I own an ammo company, Impact Ammo. I cannot send ammo to a P.O. box. Send me an email. If you go to timcast.com, there's a contact section. Send an email, and we'll, just send me the information. We'll figure it out.
Regarding Jeremy's power source, it's a 1 million volt Marks generator, and he's ready to make some plasma.
I got an idea for a show I wanted to do where we do a live stream, and then we take some kind of like electrodes or whatever and hook it to random objects. And then the voltage or whatever the right word is, I don't know, because I'm not an electrician or an engineer. The power going into the thing we hook up to it will be based on how many live viewers we have. So what happens is you'll have like 10,000 people watching, and it'll be like 10,000 volts, and nothing will be happening.
You could use smart contracts for that, like cryptocurrency.
No,
that
you just tell people to come and watch the show.
just by
and
being
then-
there, it could mine a crypto that causes the generator to
That's
click.
way too complicated.
But that's how you could automate the system.
We wouldn't need to do that. We would just have it so
We'd
that
turn it up as they showed up.
Yes.
No,
the views.
It's probably like one line of code to be like voltage equal view count. It's just that simple.
Yeah, I just want to make crypto.
Yeah. We could make the crypto, people can have it, and it would be, I don't know, whatever. Tokens, was it ERC20 tokens? But that's
Yeah.
the idea. So then people are like, share with your friends, because if you don't, then you're not going to get enough
Dude,
power.
that's
into
a
this
great
thing.
idea.
Yeah, it'd be fun. We're going to get a big open crazy land and do it. And I got the idea because watching that hydraulic press channel where they were crushing
I love
things.
this.
And I was like, what would happen if you like took a teddy bear, got it soaking wet, and then hooked it up? What would happen? Nothing? What if teddy bear didn't have any water on it? Would it just nothing because there's no
We
contact?
have to test.
Yeah.
And we got to get a super slow-mo camera because I want to watch the electricity arc.
Yes.
Wow, that's ridiculous. Those rigs are massive to see
Yeah.
electricity arc.
Let's fund it. Let's get a funded electricity.
You're talking about a gigantic rig. We can maybe get one of those like, a couple thousand frames per second cameras.
Yeah, I want the state-of-the-art.
Where you can see bullets come out in slow motion.
Yeah.
That's way too
Yeah,
expensive.
those
And
are
you got to be in like
incredible.
super bright rooms. It's crazy.
It's all for the art.
Right on. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not already, smash that like button because it really, really does help. And share the show with your friends if you think we're doing a good job because that's how we grow the channel. We grow the show. Leave a good review if you're on iTunes or Spotify or any other podcast platform because, again, that really helps boost us in the rankings, and sharing is the best thing you can do. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. We're live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Luke.
Oh, wow.
I hear
Yeah.
you're a person with social medias.
Yes. You can follow me on Luke We Are Change on Twitter and Instagram. And coincidentally, I'm also wearing another We Are Change t-shirt. This one saying Gibbs Me Dat by a homeless person. Extra points if you could guess who this is. And check out more information on my YouTube channel, We Are Change. Thanks again so much for having me.
But there are people who are only listening. So it's Karl Marx.
Yes.
It is Karl Marx, yeah. Karl Marx.
Gives me that.
Gibbs. Ian?
Hi, everyone. I'm Ian Crossland. You can follow me on many and most social networks at Ian Crossland, including my Instagram, where you can see Luke shoveling the snow off the roof of his RV, and Twitter, where I usually interact with people the most. Also, Minds. I co-founded Minds with Bill Ottman in 2010, and I think it's a great potential to use as a fresh new source code for a new
platform.
social network.
Yeah.
If we're going to expand to use free software, so follow me on Minds.
Right on. And of course, you can follow at Sour Patch Lids, who's pushing all the buttons.
I am on Twitter. I talk to people on Twitter. It's very fun. Join me there.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back tomorrow, 8 p.m. We're going to have a really, really interesting big show.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's going to be...
I want to confront him on something. It's going to be very big. It's going to be a little controversial, but
Really?
very
Gonna
funny.
cause
Yes.
trouble.
Yes. There's
So-
going to be
so it's
trouble
gonna be a
tomorrow.
crazy show.
Yes.
Right on. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. We will see you tomorrow. And we'll be talking about foreign interference, the election, crazy conspiracies, all that good stuff. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.